Hello and welcome to the new year. We're about a little under a month into it, and we're back. Collin, thanks for joining me. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, thanks. We've survived to 2020.
I'm glad to know that the death didn't leave you stranding.
Yeah, it hasn't
Yep.
yet. I might need to. I still need to. Let's say platinum my journey of
No,
the Death Stranding.
I
But
see.
yeah, yes.
Cool. So this is Collin and Curtis, uh, episode. I don't even know at this point.
Delay Cast Part Two is what I'm calling it.
Delay Cast Part Two.
Yeah.
Um, I don't even remember. It must have been early last year, or maybe it was like heading into the fall that we did Delay Cast Part One.
Yeah, so that
Um,
was like, because I know Doom was a part of that.
okay, yeah.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what else was a part of that off the top of
Animal
my head,
Crossing
but
probably.
maybe,
Yeah, that sounds right.
yeah.
Well, we're in it. We've yeah, the delays have happened. There may be more. I don't know. But we've got what, five of them or
Mm-hmm.
five of them.
Five, yeah.
And they all just hit one right after the other in the last couple weeks.
I
So
know. It's like we were joking about it, like, oh, there's a bunch, and then there was like another one, and
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think we joked about a delay cast like when we were two in,
Mm-hmm.
and then another three happened.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's not all of the news, but it's a good majority of our news this week is just like bummers.
Mm-hmm.
But luckily we got some games to talk about later on that I think hopefully are a little bit more uplifting.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, I think so. Mine are, and I
That's
think yours
good.
are. You don't know. I think we've got a good plate of games today.
I think so. I like it.
Yeah, one may be debatable, but I like it. So
Mm.
I'm
I'm
curious
wondering
in
where
your
this.
thoughts.
Okay, I bet I know where we're going with this one. So.
Sure. So let's just head right into it. Um, starting, God, I guess it's been 2 weeks now. And the last, we're just gonna run down. I'm not gonna go in chronological order. I'm just gonna go through the list that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with probably one of the biggest games coming out this year. I think easy. Is Cyberpunk 2077. This was to be released in mid-April of this year, and it got pushed back to September 17th. This is one of the bigger delays that we saw in the last 2 weeks. I know you've noted here there are rumors that perhaps it was pushed back because it was running poorly on current gen systems.
Right.
Have those been substantiated at all, or are they still just rumors that you've seen?
So basically, all I have seen was mostly just that rumor, and it just kind of, I guess, to catch up a little bit. There were, because I remember even like Cory Barlog, the God of War director, tweeted something out like, that like all games run poorly until like you
Yeah,
like have to get it out the door.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I guess the internal thing, I think it was maybe an article on Push Square I was reading, that basically said that they had an internal January deadline of like, if the PS4, Xbox One versions were not up to this like standard or something
Hmm.
like that by this date, the game would have to be delayed.
Yeah.
I think maybe I saw something that there was no Cyberpunk, or not Cyber, CD Projekt had some comment just a little bit ago saying there's no like, I can't remember what the right wording was, but there was no like, conspiracy or something like
Right,
that
right.
into why this game was delayed. But of course, that brought up the whole like thing about crunch and all that I
Hmm.
don't know if we definitely want to go into. But
Yeah, I think we've talked about it before, and
yeah,
we would probably just say the same things that we did.
yeah, sure,
um, yeah. But one of the other things it did bring up also is just that with it being mid-December or mid-September, sorry, that would theoretically be, maybe a month or two out from new
yeah,
consoles.
yep,
And I mean, I guess like typically, right, the expectation would be, well, like, and maybe this is still the case. Like, I think a lot of people are expecting this game to also come out on Xbox Series X and PS5,
mm-hmm.
but I don't know that those versions would necessarily come out at launch. But I think the important thing, and I guess the thing to watch is, we know both of these consoles are going to be backwards compatible. So how is this game going? Like, how is the performance going to differ day one?
Sure.
Like, are these, once we start learning more about these consoles, is this going to be a situation where you could wait, pick up Cyberpunk 2077 at launch of the new consoles, like pick up the PS4 version, right, and pick up a PS5, play it on PS5, and notice like better performance? Like, is that going to be how it works? I don't know that we know 100% for sure, but I do think, like, for someone like me, like, depending on what all else is coming out at that time of the year, like, I could see myself waiting until the new consoles come out and just picking it up then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not the only game I could do that with on this list. So
I think, and this is kind of a different topic, but like, I'm really interested to see what a launch lineup for next gen consoles could be, because this is going to be a different one. So like, going back, like PS4 launch, not not compatible with, like, I'll throw out two games: Killzone Shadowfall and Rise Son of Rome. Like, I bet those were two games that actually sold pretty well. And the only way I would say is because they were launch games, and if you bought a PS4 or an Xbox One, you couldn't play anything else. There weren't, other last gen games to go back to. So I feel like this is going to be a different one where, like, are the launch games going to matter as much? Because, like, I could go ahead and still play Cyberpunk next month on my PS5 with it being backwards compatible. So I don't even know if that even, like, does it even matter? Right. I guess that it's so close to next gen.
So I pulled up a list of PS4 launch games, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll just run through them, and I think it'll probably shine some light onto, like, how many of these actually were exclusive, like how many of these were things that you needed a new console for.
Yeah.
Angry Birds Star Wars. Nope.
Who could forget?
Assassin's Creed. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, wait, what? Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, which correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that was cross-gen, right?
Yeah, there were multiple games that were cross-gen.
Yeah. Battlefield 4, Blacklight Retribution.
Oh, that's a free-to-play game. Yeah.
That was the beta. Was out.
Oh, it was just the beta? Okay.
According to this IGN list. Call of Duty Ghost. Cross-gen, right? So Contrast, I don't remember. I believe it was on PS3 as well.
So this is a weird one. So my going back, it was Resogun and Drive Club, like PS Plus edition, were supposed to be the two games, but then
and then Contrast
came in, and then I think it later came to PS3 also. But I'm pretty sure that was a day and date with Resogun as being the free PS Plus games.
And that was Compulsion Games, who recently put out We Happy Few.
Yeah.
DC Universe Online, which had been around, I think, for a while.
It was on PS3.
Yeah. Dive Kick, which was on various things. FIFA 14, obviously, Flower, Injustice: Gods Among Us Ultimate Edition, that had been out. Just Dance 2014, that was on everything. Killzone Shadowfall, so that's the one.
And Knack. The biggest one. Yep, Knack,
Knack
it
is 2.
Yeah.
Lego Marvel Superheroes was on everything. Madden, everything. NBA 2K14, everything. NBA Live, everything. Need for Speed Rivals. I don't remember. I think that might have been.
I think that was on
just
PS3.
New. Was it? You know what? Yeah, I think you're right.
I think there was a version of that.
So Playroom, it's like a pack-in thing. It's not.
Yeah.
Resogun was. So there's 4.
Yeah.
Right. 1, 2. Wait, what was the third one? No, that's 3.
Killzone, Knack.
Killzone, Knack, Resogun.
Yeah.
Skylander, Swap Force. On everything, Sound Shapes, everything, or not everything, but had been out. Super Motherload was PS3 as well, or did that come to PS3 later?
It was later. It came to PS3. I remember that. Yeah.
So there's 4, right? Trying to the complete story, so that had been out, and then Warframe. Which is kind of crazy to think about. And I think that was actually in beta as well at its release.
Okay.
But that game has come a long way. It's crazy to think about
how
long that game's been around.
Yeah.
So if you really look at that, right, I'm not going to count it, but it's probably a 20-plus odd game list. And, you got like 3 or 4 games that were actually like exclusive. So I think that's, I think it's fair to probably expect a similar style of lineup.
Yeah, I would say so.
Looking back at that, that's actually a little surprising. I thought there was maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, and it's also interesting, and I don't know if they would somehow do this again, but I remember it being, I think it was 4 games specifically, which I think It was at least Assassin's Creed Black Flag, Battlefield, Call of Duty, and then I thought something else. Remember, if you bought it on PS3, you could upgrade to the PS4 version when it came out for $10.
Yeah,
I wonder if they do something like that again, perhaps, but I don't know.
Maybe, and I mean, it's going to be interesting to see like how a lot of these work now, because then they weren't backwards compatible.
Yeah.
And now they are, and so it'll be interesting to see like what that looks like, right? Like,
like if they're better versions.
Will The Last of Us 2 get a PS5 version released? And if so, like, do you then buy it again? Like, or like, how does that work, right? Because you could play the PS4 version, but then what does the PS5 version have? Like, is it different? Is it
multiplayer?
Like, noticeably, yeah. Like, I don't know. Or is the PS5 version treated as like a Game of the Year version, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like it just comes with the DLC. Like, I don't know. But I think that looking through that list and what we're talking about, I think it does align with some things we've heard. I know specifically out of Microsoft, there's kind of been reporting that the first like year or two is there won't be a console exclusive like to Series X.
Yeah.
It'll be they'll be cross-gen for the first couple years.
Yeah, because I mean, even Halo Infinite will be on Xbox One. They've said there will be like an Xbox One SKU of that game.
Yeah, and which is interesting. And I mean, I don't know that we've gotten confirmation out of Sony that they're handling it the same, but I guess I wouldn't be too surprised if that was the case. I think it probably makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to another game that I think
sidetracked.
I mean, could very well just be like we're shifting this to new consoles. That's kind of what this delay sounds like, or I mean, I guess I don't even know. So Dying Light 2 has been delayed indefinitely.
Yeah, when I saw that tweet, I was like, okay, so usually when something gets delayed, it's usually like, okay, well then there's like a date or time frame around that, but there was nothing.
Or even if it's vague, it's kind of like what Ubi did with, oh my god, what was that game? What was
Gods and Monsters, Watch Dogs?
Yeah, Gods, yep. Where they were just like, it was like their new fiscal year, right? Mm-hmm. So like at worst, you get something like that, but not the case with Dying Light 2, which I think fair to say like a pretty anticipated game, like pretty lofty goals that they're setting forth for themselves, at least from its reveal back at E3. Was it 2 E3s ago? Or was it the last one?
I want to say, wasn't it that like, because isn't Square Enix publishing this now? And yeah, it seemed like maybe 2.
Oh man, I want to say it was 2 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know, and you might. I've not been as caught up on new stuff really recently, other than just these delays happened. I feel like I saw reporting that. So it's Techland, right? Who's making this?
Yeah.
Yep. Did anything come from the reporting about them possibly being acquired by Microsoft? Have you seen this? Am I making this up?
I personally haven't heard anything about this.
Okay.
Because I know so Dead Island was their first game was a Deep Silver game, and then for some reason I want to say that Dying Light was published by either Deep Silver or something like Warner Brothers or something like that, and then so now they got Square Enix. So I'm like, I feel like they've been jumping around. So like maybe they're wanting to stay independent without a main publisher. I don't know, but yeah, I haven't heard anything specifically about Microsoft and Techland.
It looks like there was a report about a month ago about that they were looking into it. Who knows the truth to that? There is a recent article in GameIndustry.biz. Or wait. Nope, I'm sorry. This is an older article. It looks like there was reportings about a month ago. Okay. And maybe that's what I was seeing. But it doesn't seem like it's anything super substantial at this point.
Yeah.
And who even knows what kind of impact it would have on this game? I mean, recent studios that Microsoft has acquired that were making multi-platform games, like, finished their multi-platform games and they still released everywhere. So I don't necessarily think that would change anything. Interesting nonetheless. So, next up, Marvel's Avengers. This is another game that, similar to Cyberpunk, was slated to come out early this year. Specifically, I think April or May.
I think it was May. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also been pushed back to September. This one doesn't have a date attached to it.
Correct.
It's just been pushed back.
Yeah.
So I mean, and, probably somewhere around the same. See, the thing is, like, I wonder. I don't know. That and Cyberpunk, like, obviously Cyberpunk is probably the one that people have a lot more faith in right now. But if I don't know if they're able to come out at E3 and like have a pretty decent showing, like that name carries a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Right. And so I don't know that they would necessarily like push any more because of Cyberpunk. I mean, I guess they're different enough, but they're both games that like are expecting to have a player base that sticks with their games for a really long time.
Yeah.
And they're very, very different games, to be fair, but I just wonder if like I wonder how that's going to look like. Are they going to come out within like a week of each other? And I don't know, I would expect Avengers to be on the losing end of that battle personally, but
yeah, specifically like when you think about, I mean, we could go right back into next gen talk. Like if they're wanting to do something like a persistent, maybe kind of like world like that where it's online. I mean, you got 1 month before everybody's getting new consoles, and
yeah.
I mean, I know tons of people that when 360 came out would still put in the Halo
like
2 disc and play online. But yeah, for sure. Yeah, I guess I was thinking, months. That's how they work.
Right.
But 56 days in a year, or 56 weeks in a year. Remember that one?
Yep.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
So.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess this is a way to get people talking about this game, because I completely forgot this game was coming out, and they tweeted this out. I'm like, oh right, that's another game. Like, I feel like when people talk about games coming out early this year, like we got Cyberpunk and we got Final Fantasy, and maybe even Dying Light was one of them, and we got all these other ones, but like nobody, The Last of Us, nobody's talking about Marvel's Avengers.
That, and I think also like these are again two. Here's another game that is also very, perhaps pretty different from Avengers. Not that we know very much about this game at all. But Avengers is set to be a what they call a living game, right? Mm-hmm. Like something that will get updates. I think they've now. What's cool about Avengers is they're like, all the characters, all that stuff's going to be free, like, which is great. Yeah. Let's hope they stick to that. That's cool. That'll help a lot. But now, so instead of like having a new one of those out in the spring, we're now going to have it in the fall, and we also know that. There's at least one other game, Godfall, which is also coming out later this year, that is also set to be this like living game. And so I think, we already have like a handful of them out that have been releasing over the last few years, like 5 or 6 years now, I guess, if you include like Destiny, or God, 7 years. What? I've lost track. But like it'll be interesting to see if we start to have like just a handful of them set to come out like this year that are all living games that are expecting to like get in a player base that sticks with that game. And so now having to choose between multiple games that are just like constantly updating, and which one do you stick with? Yeah. Like which is the one that you dedicate your time to? And like I think Avengers, from what they've shown, like I do think it looks fun. Like I am excited about it. I know most people, it seems like most of the reaction has generally been pretty down on it. And I do think Crystal Dynamics like has put out some really great stuff recently, so I have faith that they are totally capable of putting out something that's great. And hopefully this is time that they're able to ensure that it is. But I do worry, and I think we've seen a pretty growing trend amongst these like living games that they tend to release without a lot of stuff there. And they kind of grow into themselves over time. Yeah. And I like at this point I wouldn't really be shocked if that's the case with the Avengers game. Like if it's pretty short, maybe not a whole lot of stuff there, not a whole lot of customization, right? And then it kind of grows into it over the course of the year. And maybe the inevitable PS5 version, like I don't know. I guess it's different if they're like saying, "Hey, characters and story beats are going to be free," um, but whatever way they charge, like whatever like monetization practices they have, like maybe the PS5 version is just you get all of it for free.
Yeah, I can see that.
So I don't know, like, and maybe that comes out like a year from now. I don't know, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I just don't find myself excited for it really, and I'm not a huge Marvel guy. But they're just from what they've shown, there was just nothing really that, and we've talked about this I think before during the E3 thing about like just like the actors who they have to play them, like nothing against them, personally or whatever thing, but it's like don't like I've heard these guys, like it just doesn't seem like this game's doing all that much new, and like talking about however many. Go ahead.
Or no, go finish your thought.
So I'm just like, so many of these persistent games, like you have like this Anthem maybe reboot thing coming. People are rumoring about like Destiny's still going, Division 2 still going. Like, yeah, you have all these different games. Like, how is this going to like this? There's nothing there that looks at me other than the Marvel brand, the Avengers brand. That's like, I'm going to go play this now instead. I would prefer to just play a single player 20-hour version of this and be done with it, other than like, oh, now I got to go do this raid, or I got to do these missions or these strikes with these people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I will say, I think the thing for me personally that Avengers has going for it, and I'll actually speak a little bit on it with Godfall later, is I really like now Avengers is gonna be a little bit different because it's kind of a mixture of like third person hand to hand combat, and then like Iron Man's got some like, I guess we could say like shooter elements to it, right? So it's not that it's all just like melee focused, but it seems like a good portion of it will be.
Yeah.
So to me, like that's exciting. That's pretty different from the games that you just mentioned, like your Destiny and your Division and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's cool. The other thing, obviously, the Avengers name does still carry weight. Like for me, like it's cool to be able to play these characters. But actually, one of the things that's most enticing to me for this game in particular, is it Miss Marvel?
I think it's Ms. Marvel. Yeah.
Ms. Marvel. So I've recently been playing Marvel Champions, which is an LCG living card game. So a different, another living game, just of a different variety. This is from like Fantasy Flight. They've done Arkham Horror and a bunch of other stuff. So this is a relatively new game that's come out in the past few months. And so far, it's came with like 5 heroes in its base set, and some new hero, and like they release heroes and like villain scenarios every other month or every month or something. So far, some of the new stuff that's come out was a Green Goblin scenario, and then they released 2 heroes, one of which is Captain America, and the other is Miss Marvel. So I don't have these yet. They've been like, they're not available anywhere, and like I'm on call at the local store waiting for one to come in.
Yeah.
But like looking through Miss Marvel's cards and like the abilities she has is really interesting, because this is a character I don't know much about, but has like some pretty interesting abilities. And so I played like a little bit with her cards like in Tabletop Simulator just to like try them out. And it's really interesting. So it's cool. Like I'm excited to get her like deck right and be able to play with her cards and learn more about what she's like, who she is and what she is about. But also like that's going to then carry over into this Avengers game, where here's this like new character that I don't know a whole lot about, but I'm like really interested to learn who she is, especially as she's kind of like seems to be positioned to be like a main character, like, or like the main character for this game.
Yeah.
Which is cool. So yeah, I don't know. I think those are some of the things that like some of the reasons why like I'm pretty excited to see what this is. I'm hoping that we don't have to wait until E3 to see more of it. Like I would like to, now that the delays happen, it'd be cool if sometime in the spring or sometime in the next couple months they have like maybe a preview blowout and they have like just a bunch of information come out for it, because I would like to see a lot more of this game.
Yeah, we're supposed to still get a beta at some point. At least a PS4 beta, because I think there's like exclusive stuff on PS4.
Yep.
Stuff like that. So yeah.
Yep. So moving on, another Marvel game. This is Iron Man VR. This was supposed to come out really soon, right?
So I want to say it was supposed to come out in February, but originally
Okay.
I think it was like so this was the very first game they showed off at the very first State of Play last year. And I think this game was supposed to come out in 2019, like late 2019.
Okay.
Then it got moved back to February, and now it's
Now it's May 15th. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't have too much to say on this. I don't know if you do. Like, I guess, I mean,
Yeah.
I do have a VR headset, so maybe I would try it out. I'm not, like, really following it too much, though.
Yeah, I think it looks really cool. So it's made by Camouflage, who are the people like Ryan Payton's company, worked on like Halo 4, Metal Gear Solid 4. What was that game? Republic is what that game I was thinking of. They did a VR version of that too. I want to check out at some point. Anyways, but yeah, I really liked how this game was I guess being portrayed. Like even just like, so you first see it and it looks like it's on rails, but then like watching other videos and like other people playing it, it really isn't on rails. Like even just the stuff of like putting your move controllers down is like, you know, how to thrust forward and stuff like that, how like Iron Man would, you know, with his hands pointing the back and stuff like that. I'm not sure how long this is going to be, honestly, but I'm really just looking forward to something to play on my PSVR. It's something I've done a lot with like other consoles that I'm like, I really want to play my 3DS more. And then I look at my 3DS games and I'm like, I don't really want to play any of these right now. So I feel like that's kind of where I'm at with VR, that I'm like, yeah, I want to play VR. And I have like a few other games to play, but it's like, I don't really feel like playing these right now. This is that game that I do actually feel like, man, like I really want to try that game. There's like, you know, of course, always new talk of a new PSVR headset and stuff like that, even for like next gen. But this is one I'm actually looking forward to. I haven't like pre-ordered it or anything, but it's one that I definitely want to try out. And I just think it looks like a cool thing to like fly around and kind of have that, you know, that heads up display, you know, like even in the movies where, you know, you have like the face shot of Tony Stark and all the little beeps and
I
boops
definitely
going on.
think that's like the thing.
Yeah,
for me.
I agree.
Like whether or not I really want to play this game that much, like I think that would be the thing for me, that like you start it up, you start the first mission, the HUD comes up and you're like, I'm in it. Yeah.
It's like when you first time you like jump in like a Titanfall Titan and then like the screens come in or whatever. Like it's almost like that kind of feeling, like, oh, I just kind of want to get to that moment. But
I love like games that I don't know if there's a good name or like word to use for it. Another game that, like, I love the games where you just like, there's that one thing you can do. Like, whether it's like a method of traversal, typically, right? Like that one thing, like if you think about like Crackdown or Saints Row, the way you would just like leap into the air. One game that I loved is like Infamous, like just like running across and just like jumping. And usually like you'd like hover, you would do something, right? Or that's the one that comes to mind. But
well, even with that game, I always loved where you'd like shoot the rocket electronic thing out, and then like you would use your regular attack, and with some upgrade, it could like home in back into right where you shot the first blade. I don't know. Yeah, that's really cool stuff. You'd be like throwing the axe, web swinging in Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's a great Spider-Man is such a good example of it, of just like running across the rooftop and jumping and like leaping and then falling like head first and then swinging at the last possible moment, and just like how good that feels.
Not gonna lie, that Spider-Man Far From Home VR thing was actually kind of cool.
It was just nice
because they did a Homecoming one that was real stupid, that was like 5 minutes. Yeah, then they kind of made it like more of a game. It's free on PSN. I think it's even on like Oculus and stuff. But I mean, of course, it's not great, very low budget. But like, yeah, just the swinging, you know, you're using both move controllers and stuff. It's pretty cool. It kind of has that feel to it.
Nice. So that leads us into our final delay for the Delay Cast Part 2.
The one that really
this
matters.
Is the one that cuts the most. Although it's not too bad. It's actually it's mostly fine. Final Fantasy VII Remake. I think just one more for good measure, right?
Yeah.
just one more time. So this was scheduled to release March 3rd or March 4th.
March 3rd. It was 0303.
Yep, that's it. It's been pushed back a month to April 10th. So this now releases. It was going to be smack dab in the middle between Resident Evil 3 and Cyberpunk. Thankfully, Cyberpunk moved.
Yeah.
which I've already seen people theorizing that like Square Enix knew or had like a heads up about it.
Oh, sure.
And that made them more comfortable to move a month, because I do think Cyberpunk probably would have cannibalized some sales there.
Yeah.
Which, whatever. So yeah, I made peace with it. This was definitely going to be my like March game, and luckily a lot of the other March games were like coming out at the end of the month, like Animal Crossing and Doom. Now this is just kind of like flipped, right? Where I got Animal Crossing, I got Doom, Resident Evil 3. Like Animal Crossing is just something that I'll play daily for a little bit, right? But the other two, I can I can get those finished before, I can clear out everything and then have Final Fantasy VII Remake just be April, basically. Which I'm ready. I'm very ready for this game.
Yeah, I still feel like
more than ever, but
I don't know why. I'm just like, it still hasn't gotten through to me. I'm like, oh yeah, this game's not coming out in March. It's like, I feel like we've been seeing the 03/03/2020 for so long. It's like, oh right.
It was definitely weird seeing like the 4/10/20 the other day. I was like, oh yes.
Yeah.
I'm feeling, I'm very like excited for it. Obviously, obviously, right? Like that should be clear. My feelings on this game. The one I do feel similar. Like as we're getting very close to it, right? And wondering like, what is this going to be? Like, is it going to be good? What's it going to be like? I'm starting to have similar feelings about this game that I had with Kingdom Hearts 3 leading up to its launch.
Yeah.
Which was specifically about how long will it be? How big is this game? Yeah. What all is there? With Kingdom Hearts 3, it's a little easier to have that feeling and kind of, or like it's easier to like kind of know what it is, because that was a game that I think we knew all of the Disney worlds before launch. And Kingdom Hearts typically has maybe 2 to 3 other ones other than Disney. And so it was like a good barometer of like, okay, this is what we know. Is there anything else? And so I'm having a similar feeling with this game, and I think a lot of people probably are, of just like, we know, or we think it's a safe bet that this is where it ends. Like, this is the story beat that it's going to end on. And so the question then is, what is, like, a lot of the stuff they've been showing is pretty early. There are some trailers from, like, in the Shinra Tower that theoretically would be pretty far into the game. But then the question is, like, okay, so what new stuff is there? Because I don't think we've seen anything, at least story-wise, that's, like, new. There's, like, brand new stuff. I think that, well, with the caveat being that, like, we have seen shots of Sephiroth where he...
That's what I was going to mention, yeah.
And I think there has been, like, implications of, like, I don't want to say mind control, but, like, weird, like, hallucinogenic stuff going on. I think there's some, like, some hints at that. And so that's what I wonder. Like, so with Final Fantasy VII, one of the cool things about the story is that you hear whispers and rumors about this guy, and you're seeing the, like, tragedy that he's leaving in his wake, but you never see him for a very long time. Whereas this game seems to be implying that we're going to see him pretty early on. So, like, one of the things is when you go through Shinra Towers, right, you see, like, the streak of blood that's left in the wake of Sephiroth, but you don't see him there.
Yeah.
But with some screenshots that have come out, like, we do see him there in the remake. So I'm very curious what, like, the changes will be. But I'm also, I wonder, like, the comment that was made in the past, right, is that this will be the size of a typical Square Enix RPG. So 40 to 60 hours, right? I wonder if that's still the case. I wonder if this won't be more like 20 to 30. And I wonder what the reaction would then be if that were the case.
So one stuff I'm starting to think of more is, you're going to have to remind me on his name because I didn't play it, but the Crisis Core guy. Zach, yeah, the black-haired guy. Do you think they're going to incorporate more of that into, like, the first?
I don't know. Like, that's the thing, right? Is, like, I think Square Enix typically... I'm trying to think. I think maybe with the exception of Nier Automata, which is a game that I correct me if I'm wrong, like I don't think we saw anything from any route other than Route A for Nier Automata.
Yeah,
I
think
generally fans of Nier, like myself included, knew to expect something like that. But I think in their marketing, I don't think they showed anything other than that first route, which is like really nice because then you go into the game and like, especially if you don't expect it, you're like, oh my god, what is going on? I don't think that's necessarily the case here. Like Square Enix typically like shows a good amount of stuff from their games pre-release. And there also is like the weird leaks that happen, and I know a little bit of, I don't know specifics or seen anything, but I know of things that came from that. But I wonder if there actually is, I wonder if they really are holding back a ton of stuff and not like hinting at it at all. I don't think that's the case. I would like for it to be the case.
Are we gonna get
because like how cool would it be if like you're like midway through this game, right? And then there's a flashback sequence and you're playing as Zack.
Yeah.
And it's like a scene from, that game. Like,
yeah.
I think people would lose their minds, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the case. I think it's a safe bet it's not. That won't happen. I don't think it's outlandish to expect it to happen at some point, though. In this, like, however many remakes there are, like, I guess I wouldn't be surprised if they do try to weave in the story from that game specifically.
What if?
Because like there are parts of it that are in 7, right? Like there are elements of it there, so I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to expand upon it and include that stuff. But I don't know.
What if they do like Crisis Core as part of this one, and then part 2 is then the rest of it, and then part 3 is just Dirge of Cerberus?
Great, yeah.
Of course.
Yep.
Yeah, with starring Vincent, everyone's favorite. Yeah. And then there's a message at the end by the Square Enix marketing team that says there's more, please.
And we'll end on this and move on. But one of the other things I've been thinking about for a while now, right, is there are party members like in this game that do not show up until after you leave Midgar.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the obvious answer is that like Vincent, Yuffie,
Red 13.
Like, Red 13 will be in this.
Is he?
Mm-hmm.
He's not usually in Midgar, isn't he? I don't think you find him until the mountain region part. I thought.
No, he's in the Shinra. He's in the Shinra Tower. Like.
Yeah, that's where. Oh, that's kind of where the.
But also he's in the leaks.
I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
So I haven't seen. So the people data mined the demo. For people who don't know, like there's a demo that's on the PSN store that's not available. Right? Yep. So people were able to get it and data mine it and hack their PS4s to play it. But in the data mine, it had a lot of which is pretty typical of demos. It has a lot of content or pieces of content from other parts of the game.
Yeah, code that alludes to other parts.
Yeah. So I have not seen. I purposely stayed away from this. I have not been spoiled on anything, and I have not seen. There was screenshots that were in this as well that showed other parts of the game. Not a lot, and most of it was unfinished. But two of the things. One is Red 13.
Wow.
I've just seen a lot of people be like, "Oh my god, the design is so good," but I've not seen it. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, "Oh, good, that's awesome."
It's a red dog, everybody.
It's a red dog.
I don't know.
With a scar.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then there was also a screenshot of the final boss, which is a bit more of a bummer. I've not seen that either. But from what was implied by comments on the spoiler text that was hidden, right? And then I noped out immediately. There seemed to be oh, that's new. Oh, that's different. That's not, so. Okay. Because if you think about if it ends at when you're leaving Midgar, it's the motorcycle sequence on the highway, and then you fight the big automaton kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Does not and that would feel like a weird final boss just because I think story wise it's not a character, it's just a thing. And so I do wonder is it Sephiroth? Is it some Shinra person? Is it
some Genova
thing? Yeah. I think that maybe is more likely. I feel like that's I feel like they could alter the story slightly to have that make more sense,
Right.
or to have that be a thing. I don't know. But yeah, so Vincent Yuffie, like I've been wondering, like, are these, like, obviously, like, it would just make sense. Yeah, like they won't be in this game. But I wonder if, because of like how iconic these characters are, if it's hard for them to avoid like having them have a really quick cameo or something. Like, there's that scene with that crowd, and if you pause there and look in the back left, like you can see Vincent, like he's there, or you can see like Yuffie's there. She's just like you're walking down, and like Yuffie passes Cloud, and like he's like, oh, like, and that's it. I've been wondering about that as well, and part of it is just because like I feel like they've done such a stellar job at the designs for these characters. And the way they look in this game, I think, is just like so close and so accurate to their original designs. I just want to see them as well. Like, part of it is like I just want to see these characters. So I do wonder like these characters who won't show up in this game as a party member, like if they'll still be there, or if you still might see them in like a quick scene or something.
Yeah, they do also have to keep new things for the next parts and all that stuff too.
For sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm so curious. We'll talk. There'll be a lot of discussion about this game.
I think so.
Once it's out.
I do plan on picking it up. So
good.
Pretty excited.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Wait for the spoiler cast. That's as long as the game.
Yeah.
So moving on, a couple other little topics here. I guess we'll start with the last like news topic, and there's one other thing I wanted to chat about very, very briefly. So it has been confirmed that Sony will not be attending E3 2020. Which,
are you shocked? Are you shocked? I guess.
I think if you would have asked me if I was shocked at the end of June last year, I would be like, yeah, that's shocking. But now I'm not. If that makes sense. Like, I think everyone expected them to show up again this year. Like, I think if you talk to people like last year, right? Like, I think most people probably like expected them to come back. You know, it's a new console year. Yeah. Of course they'll be back. Yeah. Nowadays, like, especially in the last month or so, with like other reports coming out about maybe some like stuff going on between Sony and the ESA, like it makes a lot of sense, and I'm not too surprised. It's a little bit of a bummer, just to see E3 itself, like, in the state that it's in currently, that I don't really anticipate it recovering from. But that's a topic for a whole other time, I feel like. But I think in regards to this specifically, it is a little surprising that they didn't also announce something else. That they didn't like say, we won't be there, but we're gonna have, this is when our event is.
Sure. Yeah.
Because like the thing last year, right, was like, oh, we're not going there. And then there was just like, there was a state of plays throughout the year, but other than that, there wasn't really anything at all. And so now we're in a new console year where we're like all just like waiting at the edge of our seat for even just like a little bit of info. And so for this to happen without the accompanied, oh, and this is when the PS5 like showcase is a little like, okay, what do you when? So I don't know. I know a lot of people are, expecting a February event, which I guess like, yeah, like I wouldn't be surprised about that either. But I'm like, I don't know. Like I'm just waiting. Like I feel like it should happen any day now. Please, I want to know.
Yeah, I think specifically with this year, I think they kind of saw that last year didn't hurt them at all.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
With that, and in a weird, I can't
it also
remember.
Doesn't help.
Yeah, go ahead.
With the like leak of press info, right? Like, it doesn't help that there was also this controversy about the ESA just being not very good with their security and leaking a ton of like personal information to a lot of the press, or all the press, I think, that attended.
Yeah. Like,
that's a really good way to make enemies or make people not want to come back to your show.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it sounds like there's a lot more to it between those two companies. But yeah, it's a bummer though. Like I still think, I feel like we're heading away from it, but I do like having that week or those 4 days where it's just back to back to back, and it's all everyone's there, and it's like a celebration of things, and not that won't be the case for E3 this year. Microsoft's already confirmed they're going to be there, and Nintendo probably will. So we'll still have, and arguably this year will be much more exciting, right, than last year. We'll have new consoles. We'll have a lot of just new stuff being announced, whether it's good or bad, right?
Yeah.
We'll probably see some new IPs and stuff, which is cool. So I think it'll be more exciting than last year was, but it's still a bummer to it still feels like E3 is just on death's door at this point. And not just because Sony is leaving. It just feels like that's what's in the water right now over the past couple years. So I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. It does kind of seem like it's going away, but again, even with Sony, they said that they wanted to focus on all these other different events. That I guess they want to do more consumer focused shows compared to E3, which is, you could argue, is a consumer focused show now at this point with how many people they're letting in and tickets you can buy and stuff like that. But yeah,
for sure. So one other thing I wanted to talk about real quick before we got into what we're playing. Collin,
I'll give you the floor.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
I don't know. I have no idea what you think of this game. Sometimes, Collin, there are games that are announced, and pretty quickly, I think, the community at large kind of turns on the game. Yeah. Sometimes for good reasons, sometimes for less good reasons. And I don't necessarily want to say that there's a mob against this game in particular, but it definitely feels like the discourse around this game is not overly positive. However, I think there are times when that happens that, for whatever reason, you just still want to believe in it. You want to believe that this game can make it.
Always believe
that it can be good. And I think there's a lot of reasons for the way that I feel about this game, one of which is because it is a next-gen game. And maybe that's kind of flowering a lot of my perception of it. Maybe I probably otherwise wouldn't even blink an eye at this if it wasn't.
Yeah.
Collin, I really want to believe that Godfall can be good. And that's it.
I feel like anything can be good.
Okay, I really want to believe that Godfall will be good.
It's just Gearbox Publishing presents.
So yeah,
can Godfall be good?
We could totally end it there because we've seen almost no gameplay other than 2-second snips, right, that have leaked.
Yeah.
From year-old footage benchmarks, but the 1-2 punch of Gearbox, and then also that it's a living game. It's a live.
A looter slasher,
and okay, the 3-2 punch, I guess.
Yeah,
and then also the because we've heard looter shooter, and I already hate that.
A schluter, do you like that one better?
Schluter. Oh no, that's even worse. But I do think it feels like a lot of people immediately heard that and went no. And that's totally fair. But I will say I like the idea of it being a hack and slash game, right? There's not a lot of, we talked about it with Avengers. I like the melee combat focus versus the shooting. That's kind of more up my alley. And honestly, I kind of just like how it looks. It kind of gives me a Darksiders vibe, just without the cartooniness of it.
It does kind of like Darksiders,
and it's a launch game. It'd be I think, I know we talked about these live service games typically coming out and there not being a lot of content there, and then they kind of grow into it. But I like the idea of having a live service game come out at launch. I think that works, right? I think it makes sense because you're not going to have a whole lot to play. So the idea of a game that is built around you coming back to it and playing it over and over, I think that that makes sense. It works for me. And so I think generally, and maybe it'll change. We haven't really seen gameplay of this, for really actually seen it in action and how this works and all the different systems. And I could even change my mind once we see it. But maybe people will change. Maybe people will warm up to it once we do see the game in action. But But I don't know. I just wanted like I don't know. I want it to be good. I want it to like come out and play it and like be like, yeah, like this is my launch game. This is it. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's all I gotta say.
I see it a lot.
I'm
I see
rooting
it a
for it.
lot, and like it seems like very Warframey Diablo to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I can't. When they showed it at the Game Awards, there was like nothing there that got me excited for it. I'm just like, yep, that's a game. That's a game. That's the epitome of this is fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and move on to what we're playing. We have a list here.
Yeah, we do.
Not a long list, but we've got some hitters here. Let's start with Ring Fit Adventure.
Okay.
This is something both of us have been playing.
Yeah.
When did you pick this up?
I picked it up probably late October.
Oh wow, okay.
But didn't play it until like weeks later.
Okay.
So
I'm surprised it hadn't come up before.
Yeah.
I picked this up unintentionally on January 1st. It was not intended to be like a resolution or anything. I don't really make them at all.
Right.
It just kind of happened.
Yeah.
Or I think technically I picked it up on the 31st, but anyways, but I've been playing it for the past couple weeks. I haven't touched it in a few days, or like a week, and I need to get back to it. But work schedule is kind of like making it difficult to make that happen. But Collin, so how far are you in this?
I am almost at the World 2 Drago boss.
Oh.
So not terribly far.
Okay, so I'm at World 4.
Okay.
Which, to be fair, like, isn't that much farther either. My first few days, so, like, it's funny how it works, like, and if you don't know, this is a workout game, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of the vein of Wii Fit, but much more of a game. It's like an action RPG. It's like turn-based RPG, actually. And there's a much more game going on here. The way that it worked for me though is my first day I did World 1. My second day I did World 2. Third day I did World 3. Or I did most of World 3. And then 4 has been like, I feel like it really picks up in World 4 where it's like been multiple days of just like chipping away at it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is super cool. I think my one like caveat with it, and I kind of mentioned this before we started recording, is one thing it does is it tracks your active time, so you're able to tell like, oh yeah, I did 30 minutes of active workout time. The thing is, because of the way the game is structured, where you're going into levels, so you're doing a level, and it's typically like, I don't know, like 9 to 11 minutes, sometimes even 3 minutes, like if it's like a shorter level, if it's a mini game, and that's like active time. But then you go out of the level and maybe there's like some dialogue between characters, or you're going into the shop and buying smoothies, which are healing items or stat buffs for your character, like in combat. And so like the back and forth typically means that like however much time you're spending actively working out, just double it. So for me, in my experience, like it's been, if I wake up in the morning and start with Ring Fit Adventure, if my plan is to do, let's say, 25 to 30 minutes, it's going to be an hour.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And there are, like, outside of the adventure mode, there are, like, things that you can, like, workout routines that you can set up based on all the different things that they have. And you can do that, and that's maybe a better option of, like, jumping into it really quick and doing some stuff. That's the one thing. I think that's one of the reasons that's, like, made me not use it as much as I've been wanting to. But I do want to get back to it. So what has your experience been like so far?
So usually when I play, it's usually like 2 or 3 levels. So I feel like I'm usually, I would definitely agree. Like, if I'm playing for 15 minutes, which is usually like what I'm usually doing, I'm, 15 minutes for the workout, quote unquote. Yeah, it is like sometimes like 30, 35 minutes that I'm there. Playing through the story, and that's one thing I'm very thankful that I think this game does really well, is that like, okay, I'm working out, I still have this motivation to keep working out, I don't care about this dialogue right now, like, and I like that they keep it pretty short overall.
They do, and it's pretty funny. A lot of it is very like,
It's
gym and
Nintendo-y.
workout themed centric too. So like
Yeah.
even the big bad villain is just this demon that's huge and super buff, and like
Mm-hmm.
he's just like he's just obsessed with working out is like his thing, right?
Yeah.
And all the enemies are designed after workout like related items,
Mm-hmm.
which is cool. Like it's cool. But yeah, I do agree that I think like World 4 is a lot of just like Sparta related jokes.
Oh, sure.
As I think it's called like Sporta instead.
Of course.
But yeah, no, I think I do try. I do. And what's funny is like you have the ring, right? And so you can press N to like basically be like, that's my confirmation button.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
And so I'm just like doing that constantly through the cutscenes just to kind of get through them quick.
So you can actually press, since the Joy-Con is sideways, you can actually press X when the Joy-Con is in there to accept as well.
Oh, you can,
So
but you gotta get that extra.
I know. See, but it's not tracking when it doesn't tell me how many dialogue choices I.
But you know what is tracking? Your body.
It is tracking my body.
Your
Oh,
arms.
speaking of which, one feature I think is really cool is the putting your thumb over the IR sensor.
Yeah.
To like track your pulse and stuff like that. I think like just stuff like that's
This
really
is
cool.
like, this is what's the health initiative they had?
Oh, the vitality sensor.
Vitality sensor, and what was it? There was like a name for it.
Quality of life. That was like
quality
an
of life.
thing.
I was thinking about that a couple weeks ago when I first started this. I'm like, this is what it's come to. This is it. This is it.
Yep. But yeah, I really do like. I mean, even when I'm just sitting there watching TV, like I do the like multitask mode, and that you can do up to 500 reps a day, and then that gives you like extra XP points. I have like several other friends on my friends list on Switch that are also playing it, so like you can like gift different reps to like you can like so when I do the 500 reps or whatever, like I can gift that experience points to myself, or I can gift those to like another one of my friends on my Switch friends list that's playing, and then give them XP instead. So I do like that. It's kind of kicking my butt a little bit.
Yeah.
I definitely work up a really good sweat.
Do you know off the top of your hand what's the like? I don't even remember the word for it. The like level of intensity you're at right now, or that you started with.
Oh yeah, I don't even know what that. Because sometimes it asks me like, do you want to keep the intensity so far? Like I think I only lowered it once, but I don't know the number of it.
I've been trying. I know I would raise it each day. But I'm still like, I'm definitely still at a point where I feel like it's not. I mean, as someone who like, I consider myself pretty like small. Like I don't work out at all, but I've just like, I don't know. I've been like generally a pretty small person, right?
Yeah.
I don't have like a lot of muscle or anything. But I don't work out, so I'm not like I wouldn't consider myself in shape. But like I'm still at a point where like I feel like the intensity level is decent for me to like, kind of like work into over time.
Yeah.
But it's not like I'm sitting there at the end of the workout session and being like, look at all those calories. Like I think at most it's like 100 after 30 minutes, and it's like, okay,
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
that's all right. So it's not like, like it's good. I feel good doing it, and it's like it's good to be there like as often as I can. But one thing I don't know. There's a lot, like we could probably spend forever talking about this game, but because like there's all these different mechanics, and so there's each level, right? Like there are mini games, but like the main levels in the story, you're running through an environment like on a rail, basically, like just on a track. So you run or you jog or you walk in place even. Like I actually didn't realize that just walking in place does work. You could just do that if you wanted to.
Oh, okay.
Which is actually kind of nice if you're like really feeling it. You can just kind of walk and still move forward.
Yeah.
But there are parts where you'll be going through the environment and like you'll get on a treadmill or something that's like pushing you back, so you have to start running.
Yeah.
Or if you're going upstairs, you have to run, or you have to like lift your knees up as you're
Same with water.
Same with water. So they do that, so you have to kind of like vary it a little bit. And then the combat is completely turn-based, straight up an RPG, in some respects, like pretty light. But all these different like activities you can do, they're all color coordinated. So if there are things that you can do that are focusing on your arm or like your upper arm strength, that's a certain color. If it's more like yoga specific, that's a certain color. If it's something that you're working your legs, like that's a different color. And what's nice about it is all of the enemies are also color coordinated, and they all have weaknesses. So if it's a blue enemy and you're doing a blue specific like workout routine, that's going to be stronger against them than it would be any other color. And so what that does is it helps to ensure that you're doing a variety of different things, that you're not just sticking to one specific thing, that you're trying out all kinds of different things and working like all elements of like your body, right? And I think that's super smart. It's like a really simple thing that they do. But it's like it's just one of like many things that this game does that like that's just really smart. It's like it's a really good way to ensure that this is happening and you're not just sticking to one thing in particular. Which I like a lot.
And especially because you unlock more routines as you go, like as you level up or more levels you complete. I, especially, being early on, I do find them kind of repetitive because I don't have that many of them. But yeah, I do like the variety of them. I kind of like it, like when you're like, oh, this one's a little bit easier than some of the others. Like now I can use this one for a little bit.
And they all have cooldowns too. So if you do find one that you're like, oh, this is an easy one, I can do this, it's not that bad. It's like, oh yeah, but now it has a 3-round cooldown, so good luck. Like do something else, right?
That's
one
when
thing
I
I
go
will
to the
say,
fridge
like,
at that point.
Yeah, right. And like as you're like increasing the intensity too, I think typically the reps get longer. Like you're doing more of it. And so that was something I noticed. Like the last time I did it was like I increased it, and I was like, oh, this is getting harder to like beat these enemies. This is getting a lot harder because I'm doing a lot more of these things, and I'm feeling it a lot more. But yeah, so there's that. Like the boss fights so far have been really like it's just you're fighting, what is it, Drago or something?
Drago, yeah.
And those are cool. Like I do like them. What's really nice about them? It's weird. Like it creates a similar kind of feeling. Like my favorite fights in RPGs, right, are the ones that when you finally get through it and you beat that boss, you're like, man, that was crazy. Like that was like 30 minutes, and it was getting rough there, but I made it, right? And in this case, it's kind of the same, where it's like you finally get through and you're just like exhausted. You're like, oh my god, that was insane. Like, I don't know how many more push-ups I could have done, but like, that's cool. And so what's the other thing? So this game does have a leg strap that you put around your thigh, and then you have the ring. And I think generally, like, it does try to make sure that your posture is good. I don't know like how accurate it is because it's it's still just like 2 Joy-Cons, like one at your thigh and one that you're holding. So maybe it could be better. Like it's I think it does say one a good thing about having a personal trainer, right, who's right there in front of you. They can be like, yeah, your posture is bad. Whereas this game's probably not going to do that as well. Like there are times
Reggie's
where it's
not
like,
there
no,
telling you,
where they will say like, hey, make sure that you're like that you're standing straight up, or make sure your back's not bent, or make sure you're like, and some of the reps you're doing, like you're holding the ring in such a way that like if you're not leaning over to the right enough, it's like, no, you need to lean over a little more. Like so it does do that. I don't know like to what extent, maybe not the best or whatever, but like I don't know how much more you can ask for a game like this.
I think it works really well for it being like how it is.
For sure. I guess I just mean that like there's probably an extra level, right, where I do feel like sometimes some of the things I'm doing are like, this, I don't know if this is right, or I don't know how right this is.
You should feel this in your whatever, and I'm like, am I really feeling it? Am I doing this right?
Yeah, the like so
stretching.
when you defend against
yes.
enemies, you take the ring, and it's essentially a Pilates ring, right? So you take the ring and you put it against your abs and you squeeze it in. So 2 things about this. One is like I feel like I'm squeezing it in as much as I can, and I feel like / I wish it would lessen the amount of damage taken a little bit more. I feel like even when I'm doing that, I feel like maybe it is lessening it by a ton. It's just like you would die in one.
You're
hit.
Still taking damage.
You're still taking like a.
And I'm thinking I've been doing something wrong.
Well, I don't mind like taking damage from it. I just wish it was like instead of it being like 1.5 hearts or something, it would be like a quarter or a half a heart.
Sure.
But the other thing is, like, it's like a lot of times it'll be like, oh, you should feel this in your arm, or you should feel this in your thighs, or whatever. When you're doing this defense thing, right? Like, it's like you should feel it in your stomach, and I'm like, am I?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I feel the ring pressing against me.
Yeah.
It's like I feel it more in my arms because I'm pushing against this thing that has a lot of like pushback itself, right? I'm glad to know I'm not alone in that, but
yeah.
So there's that. But no, overall, like, and also like the game, I also think just looks visually great.
Oh, so do you know the little fact about this game?
No.
Do you know what engine this game is running in?
I have, if I could guess, I would say the Breath of the Wild engine.
It is running in the Breath of the Wild engine. Yeah, it's kind of like interesting.
It's a different,
it's
a different art style, but I definitely like got vibes of that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was kind of cool too. So and you kind of alluded to it talking about it at the very top of this discussion, but it's just the will. So like I've got a good enough room. I've got a couch. I've got like a coffee table that I'd have to move that is very heavy or whatever. But it's just the thought of like moving it and getting this stuff set up a little bit and turning it on. It's kind of the exact same reason why I do feel like I haven't played that much more VR. Because it's just like a setup, and then like you got to put this thing on, and like as dumb as it may sound, like it is just that little, like when you get home from work, you're like, I don't really want to do this. I just want to plop on the couch and just do something. So I feel like that's kind of the reason why I haven't played maybe as much as I wanted to of this game. Because honestly, what would probably help is like right before I leave for work, if I go ahead and set everything up, and then like when I come home, all I have to do is just turn it on, and there I am. That would help more. But then it's like, but then I'm like, I'm wearing jeans and like a polo or like or like suit, not suit pants, you know, like slacks and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not gonna want to do that in this. And then I'd have to like change into something else. And I think that's and it's just some like little life hacks I have to figure out to do that. But I think that's probably the biggest thing why I haven't played more of it. That's the biggest hurdle, no pun intended, for me with this game.
It's definitely my intention. Like, I definitely intend to get back to it this week. But yeah, it's just, for me, it's more that like I want to do it in the morning, but I don't really have a whole lot of time. Yeah. And if I do it in the morning, it's basically like waking up at 5, right? Yeah. And maybe the trick is actually to do what you've been doing, is instead of aiming for like 25 or 30 minutes, is just do 15. Just do 10 or 15, because there's a little less time. I'm still at least doing something. And maybe that's what I should start aiming for, because I think that would help. I think my biggest obstacle really is knowing that when I start it, it's an hour commitment. Yeah. Whereas like 30-minute, like I feel like a 30-minute workout is like really easy to commit to. Yeah. Except it's actually an hour because of like cutscenes and menu options and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, and I felt the same way, because I probably like, you can probably agree with this maybe, but like we have a mall here in the town that I live that's basically barren at this point. But it's really good for going and walking at. Okay. And sometimes like like when I track on my phone or whatever, like I have like this Adidas running app or whatever that like tracks how long I'm going. Like I usually try to go like 2 miles total, and I'm like, well, I know I'm gonna be there for like 40-50 minutes if I'm there walking for 2 miles. And so it is just that kind of time that like, okay, I can do this for the next... Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I could, for an example, like, I could not be feeling all that great, but then, like, for the rest of the night, just kind of being, like, blah. But then I know, like, okay, well, if I do this for the next, like, 15 minutes, I know that I'm going to feel, like, more energetic. I'm going to want to do more. I'm going to have more confidence in the things that I'm doing. Yeah. If I just do this thing for 15 minutes, like, that's, again, like, another hurdle to get over. Yeah, it is just the time, and then, like... You get to 10 o'clock and you're like going to bed and you're like, yeah, I probably should have done something to get myself a little bit more energy and exercise in the day. But yeah, I like it. Question though, do you think we could see a sequel to this in a year or two?
Yeah, I wonder. That's kind of my thing, right? It's like, before I went and bought this, I did a lot of research into like, okay, but does this end? Like, do you reach a point where like it's over and it's like, well, do I just now, am I just going to exercise on my own now? And I felt like pretty confident. There's like new game pluses that sounds like it changes up things quite a bit. I was reading people who like, this was like last week of December, people who had got it the day it came out, like early October, and they were like, they've been playing it every single day, right? And I was like, okay, that gives me enough more faith in like going out and buying this, knowing that it's not something that I'm just gonna barrel through in a month
and playing through the same levels over and over and over.
Yeah.
Something.
And I mean, it sounds like it's just like the number of worlds when you consider like the New Game Plus stuff that it adds. Like, it sounds like it's something that will just really actually will last a long time.
Yeah.
I do think it would be cool if there was a sequel like a year from now or 2 years from now, maybe, that was like, hey, you know what? Like, if you've already got your ring and your strap and stuff, you're good. You can buy this cheaper version, or maybe it's like a digital down. Like, maybe it's even just DLC or something, right? Where it's like, here's more worlds, that you can do. Like, I think that would be cool, just to add to the longevity of the game.
Here's my pitch. Okay, I'm currently at Nintendo of America headquarters.
Okay.
I walked into the elevator, and standing right next to me is Doug Bowser, and I have like 3 floors to pitch him. This is my pitch. Call it Ring Fit World. And what you do is you take all the different Nintendo franchises, but then you're actually like running through different Nintendo worlds. So it'd be like the Mario Galaxy world, where you're like running through like this galaxy world, or like the Super Mario 64 world, where you're like running through, like you got to keep going because the swamp is going to like hit you or something like that. You know, like, I just think about like all these different like Nintendo franchises. You would be running through like a Splatoon battlefield, but you got to like, you know, do the high steps because now you're in like ink and you got to like trudge through it. I don't know. That just came to me, but I'm just like, man, that'd be like so cool if they put like all this different stuff in there. That would get me really excited.
I think Splatoon could work too, because you do like, you already used the ring for like a variety of tasks. Like, you could squeeze it to like squirt out ink in front of you or something, and like slide along, like I don't know. Yeah. Cool. So the game's Ring Fit Adventure. It's available on the Switch. It's good.
I think it's $80, wasn't it?
$80. Yep.
Cool.
Worth it, probably.
It is. I think so.
Yeah. Cool. So what next, Colin? What else you got?
Trying to decide what first-party Sony computer entertainment or interactive entertainment game I want to pick. Let's go with Horizon Zero Dawn.
Okay.
So I've been playing this. I actually just beat it today.
Nice. This is your first time playing through it?
This is the first time playing this. So I bought this game Black Friday 2018 for $10, the complete edition at GameStop. Yes. It was like part of their pre-Black Friday sale. They had it for $10, brand new. Bought it, hadn't played it all of like 2019, just because like, there was just all this other stuff. But I'm like, this is probably the best deal I'm going to get on this game. And I want to play it, but I just hadn't played it for like a year. And that just kind of, wasn't there a game we were talking about a while back that I'm like, yeah, I bought it and didn't play it for like a year. I thought there was something else that I can't remember. Anyways, so I like it. Don't love it. I think it's a pretty good game. There's like it's essentially like a Far Cry and an Assassin's Creed game together to me. That's really kind of how I feel like. Have you played many Far Cry things?
I played a little bit, not very much though.
So this feels very Far Cry 3, Far Cry 4 to me, like even just with the traversal, or even like, okay, now you need to craft a bigger pouch and like grab this skin from this animal and these bones from, like, it's very similar. And like even the collectibles that you go after seem very similar. And then even just kind of some of the stealth mechanics feel like Assassin's Creed stuff. Where you're like hiding in bushes and whatnot. But I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I just think with me in particular, I've played so many Assassin's Creeds and so many Far Cries that I just kind of feel like, yeah, it's just kind of another one of those, I guess. I think the biggest part is definitely its story that has it going for it. Though one problem I do have with the game is I think there's way too much dialogue in this game. So like even with the side quests, like that I would, you know, all the different, you know, like dialogue options you can choose, and not the like, oh, do you want to be stern or do you want to be smart or do you want to be like caring, like options that they have. it's more of the like, oh, now I want to hear more and more about this information, and me being like a completionist, like, oh, I want to hear everything, but I just feel like they go on and on and on and on and on, that I kind of just like, you know, you have them two talking, like Aloy and somebody else talking, that I'm literally just like reading the subtitles before they're even halfway through with the sentence, and then just skipping it. That I'm just like, I'm kind of like skipping the dialogue, but I'm just reading the subtitles as they're going. Because I feel like it really takes me out of the experience.
That is RPGs to me.
I know. I guess I just feel like it kind of takes me out of the experience. I'm like, okay, I just had this big battle, and like I'm ready to go. Like, okay, this is where I need to go. I'm ready to go. But it's like, no, but like, well, I want to hear the rest of the story. But it's like, well, if I go talk to this guy and then I go talk to this other person, I'm just kind of like sitting there talking for a long time. And I guess in comparatively, I didn't feel like The Witcher 3 had this problem, or I guess maybe it was just like where I just felt like I cared about The Witcher 3, like maybe what was going on. I don't know, but just a lot of the dialogue just kind of got me down over time. Of course, like when it came to like main storyline stuff, I paid attention and listened to all of it. But like if it was like a side quest, I'm like, oh, go find this person for me. I'm like, okay, yeah. You can kind of assume like what they're gonna say before you even heard them say the entire sentence.
I think at some point I eventually just mainlined the story. Now, to be fair, I also I love the story in this game, right? So like I think eventually I just mainlined that, but it's also been a while. I don't remember how I felt about like the amount of dialogue in the game.
Yeah, but yeah, I finished it today. I am one trophy away from the platinum.
Nice.
And
have you done the DLC stuff?
Getting ready. I was just started it. I just started Frozen Wild stuff. I did a little bit of it, like, because you can do it anytime. Like, you have to be at least like level 35 or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, started that the other day. Been through a couple missions. Just kind of seems like, you know, more of the same, which isn't a bad thing. But yeah, if Horizon Zero Dawn 2 or Horizon 2 New Dawn, whatever, gets revealed, PS4 launch title, like, or PS5 launch title, I don't really know if like I'm be that super excited about it, honestly.
Oh
like,
no, I would be stoked.
Yeah, and I know, and I
think
think this is just that thing. Like, if I played this in 2017 when it came out, like I probably like would be really excited about it. Okay. But this really, it wasn't a game that was really on my radar. I just kind of like, okay, this is I love Sony first party exclusive stuff. This is one of them. $10, complete edition, brand new. Let's do it.
And I guess like it's weird. I don't know why. Like I think I just assumed that you had played it.
No, yeah.
So I think when I saw it on the list today, I was like, oh, you're replaying that game.
No.
Nope.
So other interesting thing that happened today. I'm playing Horizon Zero Dawn, and I already have the latest patch installed. And I get the PS4 notification that says added to downloads, Horizon Zero Dawn version 1.58.
Oh,
and I'm like, whoa. I am like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, are we going to like have some like Portal 1 thing where we're going to like add something to the ending?
Somewhere in the world, there's this like thing written on the side of a wall.
Oh, I am Charlie Day, Always Sunny in Philadelphia with the wires and everything up on the bulletin board right now. Yep. So like I immediately just like stopped playing. I'm like, I need to read the like press start and then go to like update history. And I did that, and then it just says 1.58, and then it just says fixed an issue when sometimes the game would crash while following an NPC. Yeah. And I'm like, I think there's more to this, because I'm like, man, this game is
it's such a weird
in a month it's going to be 3 years old, and it's like
that's crazy to think about
with that kind of thing. So like there's got to be something.
I was going to say, like, I know I totally expect Horizon 2 to be part of the like PS5 reveal. But like I know, and I've seen some people be like, yeah, it could be a launch game, and I'm like, could it? but then it's like, yeah, it's been 3 years and it'll be like 3.5, like, so maybe, like, I get like it totally feels like, it kind of feels like Infamous Second Son, right? Where like that was a game that we're like, this could be at launch, and then it was like a couple months later.
It was
like I almost expect that. Like I kind of feel like that's more likely.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
Horizon 2 could be like a February 2021 game or something.
Yeah, I would agree.
Which would be awesome. Like that'd be great. Because that's soon. That's not far out. So
yeah. But yeah, I do like it. I like people were saying like there's like a twist, and like I was expecting like this like really big twist, I guess, but like
I mean, there totally is, but I think if you've also for like 3 years have been hearing about a twist,
yeah, exactly,
you know, I
same
mean, it
thing.
doesn't live up to it.
It's kind
I
of
do think that like
it's
that,
the Nier Automata thing where it's like, oh, okay, Nier Automata is great. Okay, now I'm gonna play it, and it's like, yeah, I still think it's great, but it's not like this like, wow, that was incredible because you've been hearing about it.
You know, there's always like those studies that are like, oh yeah, we did research and spoilers actually don't change the impact in the way people perceive stories, and I'm still to this day I'm like I still don't believe it. I still don't buy that that's true.
Yeah.
Because like, and I'm not like, I don't consider myself some like spoiler fiend of like, oh my god, like if it happens like that, it sucks, whatever. But I do think that it's like in the case of Nier, or even like I don't know, even this game, right? Like this game has a pretty wild, like, I don't even know if I would consider it a twist, but like the story goes to some pretty wild places, right? And if you like, if someone tells you that before you even started, I think it totally colors your perception of the world. And sometimes it benefits it. I do think sometimes it benefits it where you can like, you know it, and so then you see things beforehand where you go, oh, they're hinting at that. That's cool. But I do think in the case of like a Nier, right, where they're like just one right after the other, just crazy stuff being thrown at you, like it's so much more impactful for that to just come up out of nowhere, or for you not to see that coming. Or you like, we've all played Nier and it's old enough, but I still think about the like the side quest line with the in the robot village, where it's like the little robot kid who keeps locking himself in the house. If you know the way that ends, like I do think it takes away a lot of that impact. So anyways, that's my soapbox there.
kind of to good on the good things. I think Aloy is Ashley Birch. I think she's really good in it. The guy, I guess going back to the negatives, the guy who plays Silence, he's just a character. I'll just say, you know, nothing too spoilery, but he's the guy. I don't know the actor's name, but he's the guy that plays one of the characters in Destiny, the like Titan Vanguard in Destiny. I can't remember his name. I just heard his voice for so long playing Destiny. Like that's the same actor. I think he's just boring in this game. I think it's just really hard when you have like that character like just delivering lines and other characters delivering lines, but then you have like Aloy as Ashley Birch just being able to just have this huge just inflection in her voice, like like regarding the situation. I think is just kind of like a little break of an immersion thing. I'm not like a huge immersion person, but it's kind of those things you're like, yeah, that's kind of noticeable. I think another noticeable thing is there's some I really like the armor like in the game, like the different armor you can equip, but there's some cutscenes in the game where like the game just defaults back to Aloy's default beginning of the game armor. And so I'm like, I've got like this different armor on, and it's like, oh, okay, I'll be talking to so-and-so of the Nora or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this is an actual cutscene where like, yeah, it has my armor on. That's really cool. But then like there's other cutscenes where like it starts, but then Aloy's got like just the bland armor from like the very beginning of like outfit from the very beginning of the game. And I'm like, oh, great, I guess. But so it's like little stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I liked it. I just don't know. I didn't love it.
It's all right.
I'm not a huge open world person as well. I am you really, I mean,
you're more of a JRPG kind of guy.
Oh, absolutely. But as like someone who loves a game like Life is Strange, I'm not really a dialogue option heavy person. I am a very much like, give me your Last of Us, give me your Spec Ops The Line, give me your Uncharted story of like, give me the linear path that's kind of like a cinematic path. Like, don't like, oh, it's this open world and you can go anywhere and do these different side. Like, to me, it just kind of like takes away from it a little bit. But that's just kind of the games I like. But am I glad I played Horizon? Yeah, I am glad I played it. But it was good to me. I think it's pretty good. I'll say that much, I guess. But I wasn't blown away by anything.
All right. Fair. Well, speaking of another game that I think we're expecting another sequel from any day now, Let's talk about The Order 1886.
Oh man, you're gonna get through all my list.
Well,
So,
one of mine is like I'm gonna be real short with.
oh,
So
okay.
I really have one, but
Okay. So the Order 1886 was a game that was revealed at the PS4 E3 2013, I want to say, and then
yeah.
got pushed back, or not about pushback, but came out early 2015. This is a game that had been on my list to like rent for quite a while.
And this is your first playthrough of it as well?
This is my first. I
Okay,
beat it and
man.
platinumed it for the first time.
It's a
like
very
last
very
week.
easy platinum.
It's very easy,
Yeah.
yes. I rented this game. It was like a buy one. Like we have a family video. I think we've talked about it before. Like one of the only like rentals chains out there anymore. But they had this game, and they also had they had a buy one rent one. I also ended up getting like the third season of The Walking Dead with that. Not here to talk about that today. But
Next time.
maybe next time. But yeah, The Order 1886 is about, after finishing it and platinuming it, it is about what I expected. It is, I'm trying to say it's fine, but I also liked it. Didn't love it. I think the coolest part is certainly the aesthetic and the guns about it. Other than Galahad, I can't really remember any of the other characters off the top of my head.
I don't either,
I
but
cared
it's also
about.
been a while.
Yeah. So you did play this one?
I played it at launch and platinumed. Like I think this is. Oh man, I might be wrong. This might be a game that I played in one sitting and platinumed.
Okay.
In the same sitting, because
Yeah.
it was something where you can very easily like. I think for me the platinum was just going back to one chapter and getting one newspaper or something like that.
Yeah.
Very very quick. So and it's a short game. I think it was 8 or 9 hours, but I do think it might have been like a one sitting, like one shot. But I did play it when it came out, and I loved it actually. Like I really liked it a lot, despite the reception being pretty poor.
Yeah, and so I think it probably ended up being like 6 or 7 hours total for me.
Okay.
I think it's a perfect rental game, obviously. I do think if I probably spent $60, like they even had a collector's edition of this game, I remember, like when it was coming out, where it's like Galahad fighting like one of the Lycans or something like that.
Yeah.
Like if I spent all that money, I would probably feel pretty disappointed on it. But even if because I think it's been on sale on PSN for like $5 at some point on like with PS Plus. This has been one of the games that I've just been waiting and waiting and waiting for it to be on PlayStation Plus at some point, but it never came. So I'm like, I'm just going to go out and play this right now. Cool weapons. I really like the thermite gun, which is the one that like shoots like this powder out, and then you like press R2 and then it shoots like a incendiary thing and like lights people on fire. I think that's really cool. The fights with the Lycans are really stupid. So there's like two main, when you fight a Lycan, which are like the werewolf looking things, there's two basic fights. One of them is like you're basically going around in a circle, like using L1 or R1 and R2 to like heavy attack, light attack. And it's just basically quick time events, which is really dull. And that's, not too much spoilers, but that's like basically how the game ends, is with one of those. Feels very, it gave me flashbacks to Uncharted 2. And what I mean by that is like how unnecessary that Lazarevich fight at the very end of Uncharted 2 was. Like then I'm like, this is so like this game should have ended like 10 minutes ago. Like why are we doing this?
I mean, a lot of the ending is very vague to me, to be fair. But if anyone remembers or played it, like there's a lot of criticism about the ending of the game. It was a pretty like abrupt, from what I remember, and it's a super.
Yeah, it is
very like I think they thought they were gonna make a sequel. I think they were like, we're gonna do another one of these, and it did not happen. Although there was rumors of one not too long ago, I don't think, but it also felt like the ending felt almost like Batman-y in a way.
Well, I was going to say it felt very Metal Gear Solid 3 in the end, if you remember that.
Vaguely, I guess I was thinking more because if I remember the ending, it's like he's like on top of a building, like
that's the after the credits thing.
Yeah, and so it's like but yeah,
I'm getting no more. what? He's like got these gruff voice, and yeah.
Where is she?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you. I wish they got a second crack at this.
And I think it deserves it. That's a weird thing to say, but I think it absolutely deserves it. And it really does feel like a first attempt. Like, it really does feel like, oh, if the Order 1887, whatever, comes out and it's like really great, this really does feel like a first game. And I guess what came to mind immediately was like Assassin's Creed to Assassin's Creed 2.
Or the Uncharted to Uncharted 2.
Yeah,
style.
where it's like, it's just everything just was, and also with the story, there are so many unanswered questions. Like, so many. It's absurd.
There's a
how
rich amount of lore that you can dive into for a game like that, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's so much there.
Which
is a bummer because I love that. I like that specific kind of stuff. I love, and I would, like, I know that at this point, if a sequel were to be announced, it would probably have a little bit of an uphill battle, unless unless they announced it with like some gameplay that just looked out of this world, right? I do think it would have a bit of an uphill battle because I don't, even given like a few years now, like I think generally the perception hasn't changed too much on the game. But I would love for them to have a second crack at it. Yeah,
and if we even do, I don't see Ready at Dawn being the team to make another one. I'll say that. I think they're doing, like, they're one of the big premier like VR developers right now, especially on the Oculus platform with the Echo Arena and Lone Echo. I mean, maybe if they got like a second team to do something, maybe they could. But it really did just feel like a kind of a by the numbers third person shooter with the guns being the only thing that on a gameplay perspective really stood out. Like, you've got your normal sniper stuff, but you have like these Nikola Tesla weapons that are really cool.
Yep.
But other than that, I mean, it's your normal, like, we're just mowing down hundreds of guys kind of game. I really thought the airship kind of set piece, and not really a set piece, but just like that level, I thought was probably the main highlight for me. I just love, and speaking of another game about London around that time period I want to get back into is like Assassin's Creed Syndicate. That is actually the next up Assassin's Creed game that I need to play.
Oh. Is this like your next game you're going to jump into, or is it?
I don't know. So like, okay. I need to get back into the Assassin's Creed franchise. I've played all of them, including Rogue, but that's the next one.
I'll just say that Syndicate is my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my favorite one.
I just love that time period, I guess, like that kind of what it's doing.
For sure.
All the dirigibles and hot air balloons and stuff like that are flying. Yeah, I do like. I think this game absolutely deserves a sequel. It deserves a second chance. I don't know if it's gonna get it, which I feel like if you were like off top of your head list just PS4 exclusives, like not like, oh, the high tier exclusive, just any PS4 exclusive. No one, or like Sony first party games that came out during the PS4. No, I feel like guarantee people are gonna forget this game.
Oh yeah,
like they're gonna say your Bloodborns, all your others.
It would be like the last one they would name, right?
Yeah, you'd be like, oh right, that was a game that came out, and really
they would name Knack before the Order,
and Knack too, right. Obviously.
Yeah.
But I it's kind of like when I played this game, I was like, man, this was 2015. Like I would have thought like 2014 or
I remember
something like that.
So one little thing, anecdote, and we can always move on, but before the Order 1886 came out, I don't know. I'm assuming it's GameStop's. Like a lot of different GameStops did this, but my local one had a demo event like a week or two before it came out, where they had someone from Sony come in and set up a demo kiosk, like on a table, like they brought their own TV and system. Like they had a demo for this game. I think from like chapter 2 or something from this game, where people could come in and play it for like a couple hours, and they had pizza and drinks, and it was a whole thing. And so I played this game. Like I went to this thing and played this game for like 10 minutes, grabbed some pizza and left. And I was like, all right, that was weird.
Yeah.
But that happened. That they did that for this game. And I got a T-shirt from it that was too small.
See, I was actually gonna say because I actually first played this game at PAX when I went to PAX Prime,
Yeah.
previously PAX West, with 2014. It was this and Bloodborne and Until Dawn were like the big Sony games at their booth, and I got in early, like being the press thing,
Mm-hmm.
and played the Order 1886, and I was like, like
Yeah.
okay, I
I think a
guess,
lot of the
like
reaction was kind of like that.
yeah, I was like, I don't think this is all that great. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it was just like that. I don't find this like. And so, oh, speaking of another thing, it does the Evil Within thing. At least in the Evil Within, you can turn it off, but it's got the letterboxing thing going on.
Yeah.
Didn't like it. Did not like
Yeah.
the letterboxing. You know how like when you play Uncharted. Speaking of Uncharted 2, like when you play Uncharted 2 for the first time, and it like, and you're just like sitting there, and you're like, well, what happens next? Oh, I'm
Mm-hmm.
playing right now. I had
Yeah.
so many of those moments in this game that I'm like, oh, I guess I'm supposed to play now. Because like, but it wasn't like, oh wow, what a transition. It was just like still waiting for the scene to be over. Oh,
I don't know if I
okay.
ever had that issue or not. And this should be like, we should maybe file this away as another like conversation like that we could prepare for and like put a list of games together. I
Yeah.
feel like there's definitely has been a growing art to the um God, what is the phrasing I'm looking for? There's like a growing art to the like transition between cutscene and gameplay,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, like the obvious, like you're in a cutscene, the camera pans around, and it's behind you, and there you go,
Yep.
and like the HUD fades in.
Mm-hmm.
I've been seeing it a lot, and I see it a lot in Kingdom Hearts 3 in the past week. But I feel like there's definitely like been an art form to this that's emerged, and it would be fun to maybe like go through a bunch of games and talk about the variety of ways
Metal
they
Gear
do it.
Solid 4, the best one to do it. Lost my mind when that
Oh
happened when I got
yes,
my
oh yes,
PS3 towards the
we all
beginning of the
know.
game. Ah, lost my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
All right,
But
so
yeah,
let's
that's
talk.
all I've got to say about that.
Great. So my first game, I want to be just real quick. I picked up Tokyo Mirage Sessions. So I played this through and beat it on the Wii U when it first came out, a handful of years ago at this point. When it was announced in the Nintendo Direct like last year that they were gonna like put it out on Switch, I think my reaction was like, "Oh, great! It's getting a second lease on life. That's so great! Like I probably won't play it again, but that's awesome."
And here we are.
Here we are. So I'm a little ways in. I'm at the end of Chapter 1. I beat the Chapter 1 boss. I'm playing on hard, which is something I like never do in RPGs, or really almost any game. I almost always exclusively play on like the normal mode. But I was like, what the heck? Like I've already beat this game. Let's crank it up to hard. Let's see how it is. What's really nice is that you can change the difficulty just any time in the game, which is really cool. So if it does ever get like too overwhelming, I'll just knock it down. But I'm kind of like starting to transition my thought on difficulty of like, you know what? Like I think I've like got to a point where I've played enough RPGs where like maybe I should just start playing on hard now. Maybe I would enjoy it more.
Yeah. Sounds like a lot of grinding.
Sure, and that could totally happen. I will just say like when I first played this and beat it, like I loved this game. I thought it was fantastic, and playing it again, like a lot of it's starting to come back to me. A lot of the stuff I've forgotten is coming back, and it's like, oh yeah, this is still really good. Like there's still a lot of really cool stuff going on. There's some new things that they've added that I haven't gotten to yet. There's a new dungeon. There's some new like character side story stuff going on that I haven't unlocked yet. So I'm still pretty early. There's some new costumes, one of which is Joker from
Yes.
Persona 5.
Yep.
So I know how to get it. It's just part of like the new dungeon. You can just find it in a chest there. So I'm very excited to get that, so I can just have my main character be Joker. That'll be great. Because I'm probably going to replay Persona 5 when Royal comes out.
And Scramble or Strikers or whatever.
Definitely playing Scramble for sure. So yeah, I just I've been playing again. I'm probably gonna play it a little bit more tonight. I like it a lot. If you have not played this game, you should go get it. I know the idle aesthetic and stuff is maybe off-putting to some, and that's totally fine. But it's just like a really, really, really solid JRPG. It's got a really cool battle system that only gets better the further you get into the game. It's very Shin Megami Tensei Persona style combat. And you know, the story, like, I've forgotten a lot of it, and so, like, just from what I've gotten through so far, like, it's fine. I don't remember it being like anything super crazy, right? But I do like the characters; they're fun. Barry Goodman's just a great guy. a great. Did not intend for that to be. But you know, he's Barry Goodman
as well as Barry Burton. But you know,
he's just great. He's just he's just great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really enjoying it. And it's great on the Switch.
So this is if there was an award for like games I really want to play, but like I just don't know if I want to at the same time, this is it.
Yeah.
Because even when, what was it, like we got like the first Wii U port of a game coming to Switch, I was just immediately like, oh, what other Wii U games could come to Switch? And I'm like, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, like this would be the game.
One. I hope that, like, I feel like generally it's a pretty well received game, besides like the stupid backlash, right? Like that dumb
the censorship
stuff, right?
stuff.
Yeah, like that's like, I was at work, and we had like a board game night, and we had like some people bring in their Switches too. And someone like brought up Tokyo Mirage Sessions, and I was like, and they were like, oh, I don't know, I might be heard some censorship stuff, and I was like, no, don't worry about it, you're fine.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah.
It's okay. Like, it's actually kind of a dumb thing. It's totally fine. Don't worry, the game's great. And I sold I'm pretty sure I sold someone on a game, so I'm doing God's work.
I would like this to be another one right here.
Yeah.
So, like, you know me, huge JRPG fan, love RPGs.
Of course.
Especially JRPGs. Man, I don't know. Like, so the biggest appeal to me is, here, let's a little backstory. I don't love massive RPGs. Like, if I played something like Final Fantasy VII again, I would just lose my mind and be like, I can't do this. Or Dragon Quest, can't do this.
Yeah,
but if you can give me like a Paper Mario that like I could do this in like 20 to 30 hours.
So I will say
that has
Tokyo Mirage Sessions, you see, it's tough too, right? Because like, to me, I know we've been talking like through text about like you thinking about getting this game, and at first I was like, yes, absolutely, and then I think I texted you a couple days later, and I was like, well, I don't know, like I don't know if it's like, and
I agree,
and it's like, for me, part of me wants to be like, well, because like, and there is some Fire Emblem stuff in this, obviously, right? But the core battle system is very close to what a Persona game plays like. You know, obviously it's that kind of combat, right? So that's the best comparison. Whereas nothing like the combat in Fire Emblem. It's just got some, like, it's got a couple things that are in place there. But at the same time, it's like, well, I almost, like, if I'm going to tell you to play RPG, right? Like, this one, what's nice about it is, you know, it's not necessarily the 20 to 30 hours, right? But you could probably do it in 40 to 50, you know?
Okay.
Like, it's not, like, that overwhelming. I think there's 6 chapters, right? I'm at the end of chapter 1. I think it's maybe, like, 6 or so hours in, right? And obviously the chapters will get a little bit longer. But what's also great about it is it's on the Switch, so it's very easy to just like play while you're watching sports or doing other things, which is really nice. But then like there's a little piece of me, and I think this is just like me, right, where I'm like, well, there's this, but also Persona 5 is coming back out in 2 months, and like the story in that game is incredible, and the characters, and like that's just a better game. But it's out on PS4, it's not coming to Switch, and and that game is also like 90 hours.
Yeah, I can't do that.
That's a bit harder to recommend, but I do think like, and it's also tough too, because like this is the game that probably will not go on sale.
Oh, I agree. Chance, right? Sony first party, yeah.
Or Nintendo first party.
Did I say Sony? That's what I meant. Yeah.
Probably won't go on sale, so it's hard for me to be like, oh, wait a few months. It's like, if you've got nothing else to play and you want something new, like, or quote unquote new, right? Or something that's like in the discussion in the right now, currently, like, it's really good. It's solid. I do think like, if you get it, it should be for like the dungeons, which are cool, and the combat, which is fun. Whereas I think the overarching story, like I don't remember much of it, but I think from what I remember of it, I remember it being like interesting and cool, but not like blow your mind, like, oh, that's a great story kind of thing. It was like fine.
So the last like RPG I played was like Cosmic Star Heroine, I'd probably say.
Yeah.
I could mindlessly get through that game. I didn't really like. I understood just enough of the combat system to like get through it. Do you think I could do that with this?
Yeah, like this is not. The combat system in this game is not difficult to grasp. They do add layers to it over time, but it's all pretty simple stuff. What's cool about it, so it's all, a lot of it is very focused on using, like, exploiting weaknesses, right? Like, did you ever play any of the Persona games, for instance?
I almost pulled the trigger on a sale for Persona 4, but never did.
Okay. It's a lot of it's like, oh, this enemy is weak to my thunder ability, right? And so you use that. What's cool about it, though, and it actually speaks to what the Switch version like enhances, is one, load times are like almost instant, whereas they were like 9 to 10 seconds to get into a battle. In the
I saw a Game Explain video on that,
which is awesome. Yeah. So that's cool. The other thing it does is there's these like link abilities. So let's say that I have my main character use Zeo, which is like the base lightning skill, right? And it uses it against an enemy that is weak to lightning. Okay. Now one of my other party members has like a passive skill that is basically like, okay, if a lightning skill is used against an enemy that's weak against it, I'll do a follow-up attack, with my spear ability. And if that enemy is also weak to spear, right, and then your third party member has like, oh, if they use spear and it's weak against it, I'll use my thunder, or I'll use my fire ability. So a lot of the game is about exploiting weaknesses that lead to like combo links happening. What's really nice about it is you don't need to remember it at all, because like the UI is designed in such a way that it shows you exactly what's going to happen.
Love it.
So if I use a thunder ability and there's going to be like a link combo engage, it's going to show me exactly what characters are going to do it and exactly how many of them are going to do the link attack.
Cool.
So you know exactly what's going to happen. So a lot of it is about weaknesses and using like attack and defense buffs. I think playing on normal, or there's even an easy mode. I don't remember normal being that bad though. I definitely think it's something you can get through. I will say the dungeons, I've just gone through the one, and I vaguely remember the other ones from like 3-4 years ago now. The dungeons are super cool. I remember them being kind of puzzly though. So the first one, you're in like a dungeon that has these like mannequins, and they're like mannequins that like have their arms stretched out either down, I guess like horizontally straight out, and then they also have arms stretched up, and they're basically tunnels to bottom floor, top floor, or the current floor you're on, if that makes sense. It's a little hard to describe without you seeing it. But the core puzzle of that dungeon is that you're like flipping switches that move the arms of the mannequins so you can access different floors. It's really cool. Actually, a lot of the dungeons in this game are really cool, but they are like, there's a lot of puzzle elements to them, so I don't know if that's like, it wouldn't necessarily be super mindless exploring the dungeons. But the combat is simple enough that it wouldn't be too hard, I think, to get through it.
It sounded like with the floors thing, it sounded like, remember like the Salazar statue in Resident Evil 4 where you're like flipping the switches? Is it that kind of thing?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. That's where my mind went to that. Anyways.
Yeah, so it's a super solid game.
Okay.
I really like it. I hope this second lease on life helps, but I don't know that it will.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a good time for it to come out. I think it's a really good time for it.
Yep. That's one of the reasons why I ended up getting it, because I was like, well, there's not much else, so.
I feel like probably when this Nintendo Direct gets announced in like 3 days or something like that.
Or whenever, or 3 months. It might like push me over to go get it, because like I get in like Nintendo moods, and this might do it. But I still want to play it at some point. I got one other game to talk about, Collin, and this is something I've been waiting to talk about. I've been like talking about a little bit with other people at work and stuff, but on this podcast here. So last year, I don't remember. I believe we did have like a podcast where I talked about Kingdom Hearts 3, like after I beat it.
So, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that happened, and I really liked that game a lot, right? Like I liked it. I loved it. Maybe even like it was a great. I was happy with the conclusion. It felt like I got closure to this franchise I have been with for a very long time. And there were a couple of things, from the base game that I was like, the way Kairi was handled, I feel like it felt like it was hit me harder in this game than it did before. I think just because I'm older and I'm more like cognizant of the way like women or female characters are treated, and Kairi in particular is a character that has been like shafted that's poor word, has been like really like pushed to the side a lot. Right, where like she's the quintessential like female character captured that needs to be rescued over and over and over again, and especially in Kingdom Hearts 3, where like she has a Keyblade and she's actually actively like in the battle. She's still just as like pushed to the wayside, right? And so there were disappointments in Kingdom Hearts 3, but overall, like I was really satisfied with it. Felt like I had closure. And then that was it. And I beat the game and I didn't touch it again.
Yeah.
And there would be news about the DLC coming up and stuff, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. I think I'm okay though. Like I will obviously be excited and be like down day one for whatever the next Kingdom Hearts game is, but like, yeah, I just felt like I was able to move on and be set free, right? So the ReMind DLC for Kingdom Hearts 3 came out this past week. I had no intention to pick it up. Not one.
Really?
Yeah, I was not intending to pick it up. And I was like, and I think my expectations were like maybe lower, or like I didn't really understand what this was going to be. It seemed like it was going to be a lot of new like a lot of just remixed boss fights for the Order 18, or the God.
Yeah.
For the organization.
The new Disney World.
Yeah. Anyways, so I kind of assumed it would just be a lot of like extra like secret bosses, or like special really hard bosses based on the Organization 13.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like coming out like unlocking at midnight, right? And I was like, well, it's already out in a lot of regions and people are playing it. I want to look up. I was like, I'm gonna look up the video of the new story stuff. Like, I want to look up what those scenes are. I've been hearing about a secret boss and a secret ending again for this DLC. Like, I want to see what that is. So I get home, and first, before I go into any of this, I do want to say, if you've not played this or you don't want to be spoiled on anything, you should stop listening now. There's a warning. Collin, have you heard anything about this DLC? Specifically the story stuff.
I was gonna say the only thing I've heard is that some people don't like it, but maybe we'll get into that. I have heard nothing.
I actually think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think. Well, we'll get into it. So you don't know anything.
Yeah, I have like nothing. I don't think I know anything.
I am so excited to get your like reaction.
Okay.
To this, having not heard anything. So I get home, okay, and I go to my laptop, and I immediately go to YouTube, and I type in Kingdom Hearts 3 cutscenes, or like ReMind cutscenes, right? And there's already a bunch of videos of like full playthroughs of the entire DLC. I should say the way it's set up is you have to have a cleared game save file to access it. You access it from the main menu. You go into the downloadable content, you load up ReMind, and you load your cleared save. The crux of this is basically the end of Kingdom Hearts 3. The last like few hours is just it's almost like a boss rush where you're fighting a ton of Organization 13 members, some other enemies, and then that leads up into the like climactic fight against Xehanort, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what this does, and like the end part of the ending of the game, is there's a thing that happens to Kairi where she's like lost, right? And so part of the original ending is there's like this tease of Sora going to go find her. And the ending itself actually has Kairi, she's back on Destiny Islands with all the other characters. And you see her and Sora kind of sitting there together, and then Sora vanishes. which leads into the original secret ending for Kingdom Hearts 3 back from a year ago, which showed Sora in what appeared to be Shibuya, yeah. Specifically, the version of Shibuya, which is from The World Ends With You, right?
Okay.
So, kind of the thing was like, okay, well, what happened? How did he get her back? Like, is that going to be for the next game? Like, what's that about? This DLC basically explains that. So what it is, the framing of it is that it starts at the post game, and you go back. So there's Kingdom Hearts 3 is known for its wild story, it's crazy, like convoluted story, all sorts of weird stuff going on, multiple versions of different characters like Xehanort, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the elements that was introduced in a game is like time travel being a thing in this game, in this world, right? So the framing of the DLC is that Sora uses the special power that he has as a Keyblade Master to kind of go back in time and relive the final like 3 to 4 hours of the main game. But what's happening is it's kind of like it's actually a really interesting framing. I know it's like kind of sounds crazy from maybe an outsider perspective. You're reliving a lot of boss fights. And so sometimes they're remixed, but sometimes they're brand new. And you're seeing it from this perspective of like this future Sora, basically, who knows what the outcome is. And so he's like adjusting things or making changes or like doing different things to try to change what's happening. And the whole time trying to get to the point where he can like alter the past and save Kairi, basically.
Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, it's
Hearts.
very, it's actually like, there's a lot of similarities, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that in and of itself, like, probably takes about 4 or 5 hours. There is a lot of like, and there's a lot of like, you're seeing cutscenes where like for me, I was like, is this new? Is this slightly edited? I don't remember because it's been a year. Like, is this just the same cutscene? So there are some fights that are very much like, yeah, like this was one of the fights, maybe slightly different from the base game. Mm-hmm. But there are also like brand new fights, which is cool. Actually, one of the first fights in the DLC is straight up against the like secret boss of the main game, just a little easier, right? Mm-hmm. So there are some new fights in this too, which is cool. And actually, the ultimate fight, like the last like 30 minutes of this like the story portion of this DLC is just like MGS4 levels of like crazy fan service, like just amazing stuff, right? There is one fight in particular that like incorporates all of the other characters excluding Sora, right? So it's like Riku, Mickey, a bunch of other characters that you may not know the names to, right? But like all the other main characters, right? Of which there are quite a few, and they're all like fighting in unison. And I can't properly explain how it works, and it's kind of a gimmick fight. It's not like super difficult, but it is like the presentation of it is out of this world. And it like culminates in Mickey like doing what is almost very, very close to the equivalent of the Metal Gear Solid 4 hallway scene.
Oh my gosh.
And it is so good. I knew you would love that.
With an eye patch?
No, not an eye patch, but so close. Like, it is, oh my god, it's so good.
Split screen, Mickey's going nuts.
And the final fight against Xehanort, it's actually Sora and Kairi fighting together. And you get to choose who you play as, so you finally get to play as Kairi, which is like awesome. And she plays really well. It's actually like, I don't know if it'll happen, but I would love for there to be a side game where it's her. Part of this game ends on like Sora being lost and they're trying to find him, and I would love for there to be a Kairi game where she's going out and being the one getting him back. I don't know that will happen, but the final fight's also like awesome. It's pure spectacle, and it can be challenging as well, but it's so good. I messaged my brother. It actually, something that's very popular with a lot of JRPGs, and other games as well, right? is this ideal of a true ending, right? Where you can play through the game normally and get the normal ending, and it's pretty good. But if you do a couple extra things, you get the true ending, and that's like the ultimate closure. And you know what everything good that happens to all the characters, and you know where everyone is, and there's extra story. This felt like that. This felt like a true ending to Kingdom Hearts 3 in a way that we maybe didn't get last year. I think like the original ending was like really good and it was a good closure, but like I didn't realize how much better it could be. And like this is that. So that's awesome. Like I love that. It's amazing. What's also nice about that ending is like I think there was like some slightly altered cutscenes to like because it rolls like the main ending and credits. But also if you complete the DLC, it also rolls the secret ending from the main game. Which have you seen that?
You've told me about it.
We've talked about it, right?
Yeah,
okay.
It's like it's game inside of a game kind of thing. Wasn't it something
sort
like that?
of, and it's a really quick refresher, right? So like if you remember in the Toy Story world, you see the trailer for something called Verum Rex,
right?
And it's like essentially looks like Final Fantasy Versus 13, but it's not kind of thing, right? And so the secret ending is Sora and Riku waking up in this world of Shibuya. But specifically, I think it's like, so it's the tower, right? It's like 106 or something. I don't remember. I think the numbers are switched, and that's something that is representative of The World Ends With You. And so it's like very specifically, like people theorize like, oh, I think it's that world. I think it's like specifically that world, which isn't too outlandish because The World Ends With You, those characters have appeared in Kingdom Hearts before. We just haven't gone to their world, and that would be really exciting.
Yeah.
The other part of the secret ending is that we see another character on like who's like kind of brooding, right? But he's specifically a character who appeared in the Verum Rex trailer. We know this character to be named Yozora, because the secret ending is titled that, basically.
And that's an anagram for what?
Yozora, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but the other thing is also like the other character in the secret ending, to you would just look like another organization member, but it's specifically a character that is known as the Master of Masters. He's basically being set up to be the main big bad villain of the next like saga. Now that the Xehanort saga is over, like this is the next big bad, and we don't know much about him. He's just kind of been in Kingdom Hearts 3 and some other things, right? So, when you beat ReMind, you also unlock something called Limit Cut. Limit Cut requires a completed save of ReMind. You access it through the menu. And when you load it up, it's basically like all of the Organization 13 members remixed. It's their what's called data battles. These are boss fights that have appeared in the final mix versions of Kingdom Hearts games before, specifically Kingdom Hearts 2. They're essentially just like super bosses, like really, really hard versions of these Organization 13 members fights. Okay? What's nice about it, though, is they actually frame it around like a story conceit. So like they actually give reason for why these battles exist. And the reason is basically it's post Kingdom Hearts 3 ReMind story-wise. So Kairi's there. She's been asleep for a year because they're looking for Sora, and Riku's looking for Sora. Like everyone's looking, they can't find him, and so we introduce Leon, Yuffie, Aerith, and Sid.
Oh wow!
So they're in this, and Sid is working on the computer, and he's got this like thing loaded up that Riku is able to like basically play as Sora, and the idea being like, well, we found this data for all the organization members. Maybe that data, if we follow that data, it will tell us where Sora is. So the conceit being like, oh, if you beat these boss fights, we'll be able to find out where he is. So I was like, okay. So for me personally, I've only finished one of these fights. They are excruciatingly difficult. I beat one. Well, I will keep trying to beat the other ones. I don't know. There's like one or two others that I'm like at a point where I think I can beat them, but most of the other fights, it's just like I'm having a hard time even getting 1 to 2 health bars down. they're really, really tough. They're super cool boss fights. Like, they're really well made, but they're hard. I don't know that I'm going to be capable to beat them, but we'll see. Stay tuned for updates on that.
Yeah.
So, Collin, you beat all of the fights. Once you beat all of these data fights,
you know what happens though, even though you haven't beaten them all. Okay.
Oh, I know. So, to start out, there are 11 that are unlocked. Two need to be, or 11 that are available. 2 that need to be unlocked. One is Shion, who is she's the girl from the DS Kingdom Hearts game, the 358 over 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other is the Xemnas, or not Xemnas, the Xehanort like data fight. So you unlock those, and those are like the hardest ones, right? So when you beat those, you unlock one more secret boss. Okay?
Sephiroth.
Oh, if only. I wish. That's one other bummer. I do wish Sephiroth and Cloud were in Kingdom Hearts 3, but regardless. So the secret boss, again, heavy spoilers coming up, like Elite.
I don't want to know. Yeah, I've got a spoiler tag I'll put on this in the comments.
These are like, this is the thing if you don't want to know, this is the thing you don't want to know. So the secret boss of all of this, right, where you get through everything, you unlock a boss fight with a character named Yozora. Okay? From the secret ending. I should quantify, like, did you watch like the Virum Rex thing when it first came out?
When
people were like, wait, what is
so?
It? Okay. So what you need to know is, like, that trailer looked like Final Fantasy Versus 13. It was not Final Fantasy Versus 13, right? Like, it was like, that's what that is. It's like a clear homage, and it's like, oh, that's kind of funny, weird. Okay, what a strange thing. Yozora looks, as a character, looks kind of similar to the current design of Riku. Okay. A little bit. He looks like someone else, but I don't, we'll get there. But he's also, his eyes, it's like a blue and red, like one's blue, one's red kind of thing going on. He's a cool looking character. So you unlock this boss fight, and like there's a cutscene that triggers, and it's like Sora in this kind of like void, right? And he hears a voice, and Yozora approaches, and they share a dialogue, and Yozora's like, I know who you are. And Sora's like, yeah, you're Yozora, right? And he's like, wait, how do you know who I am? Like, this isn't even what I look like typically. How do you know me? And he's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, weird stuff, right? Like, convoluted Kingdom Hearts story. Triggers the boss fight. I've watched the boss fight. It's insane. That's another one where I'm like, I really want to try it. I just want to like try and fight him. I don't know if I would be able to do that and beat him. But it's a cool looking boss fight. He's got like, there's some crazy mechanics going on where he like, there's an item you can have in this game called it's like a Moogle token or something. And basically what it is, like other games have something similar, where it's like if you die and you're holding one of the tokens, you get revived.
A revive pill.
Yeah. So if you have one of those in this fight, he can steal it from you and revive himself.
Oh, dang.
And there's some other like, I think there's like a part in the fight where he will steal your Keyblade, and you have to like run around and dodge his attacks for a while before you get it back. There's like some really cool mechanics going on. So, this fight leads to 2 different endings. One is like the good, like true end. One's like the bad end, right? It's if you lose, it triggers one end. If you win the fight, it triggers another. They're not that dramatically different, but we'll all go over each one because again, I need you to know this.
I've been hearing a lot of different endings already.
It is so insane. Okay, so if you lose the fight, Yozora, who is voiced by Dylan Sprouse from Zack, like the Sweet Life Adventures of Zack and Cody. If you ever watched that show on Disney Channel,
no.
It's kind of a weird fun fact. So if you lose the fight, he's like, "Oh, sorry, I don't lose" or something. And Sora basically like gets crystallized and kind of like disperses, is the best way I can explain it. But when that happens, this Yozora character, he makes a comment of like, "I will save you one day," and it's like kind of left at that, right? And you're like, "Oh, what's it mean? What's going to happen? I don't know." If you win the fight, it's kind of the like incredulous like, wow, like I can't believe I lost, or like I don't remember what he says, and Yuzora kind of like vanishes away, and Sora's left to be like, what just happened? Like, who are you? What's going on? So, if you boot up Kingdom Hearts 1 at the very opening of that game, it's a line that's become iconic, and you hear it in all the almost all the trailers for any Kingdom Hearts game. It's the line where Sora's like, I've been having these dreams lately. Like, is any of this for real, or is it fake, or something, right? Like, are you familiar with that line?
I am not, actually.
Okay. You've probably heard it, it's just maybe it doesn't stick out to you as much,
guess,
if you don't have so much experience with the games. But it's like the very first line is like, he's just like, I've been having these dreams lately. Like, is any of this for real, or is it fake? Or something like that. So, you hear that voiceover from Sora, and like he says, like, I've been having like these dreams lately, and then as it reaches the like second part of that line, Yozora also starts saying it. So you hear both these characters saying it at the same time. And as it's happening, you're seeing like Yozora like kind of look off into the distance, right? Like it's like a close-up shot of his face. And then it fades into something, like it kind of like does a thing where like you see his face and he's in one location, and then it fades, and it's still a zoomed in for like of his face, but it fades in to a different scene where he's just in a different location. Okay, makes sense. You follow me so far?
I'm hanging on.
Okay, Collin, do you remember the Final Fantasy Versus 13 trailer that has Noctis sitting in the back seat of like a limousine?
Man,
do you remember,
asking me to go back? Why? Okay. Yeah, probably not.
So it's like, it was played quite a few times, and I think even in 15 there was like this scene was in the trailer where Noctis, he's just sitting in the backseat of a car, and he's kind of like head down, and he looks up and he like looks out the window, and that's it. Like there's not really much else to it, right? Mm-hmm. So they're saying this line, and you have a close-up shot of Yozora, who also kind of looks like Noctis.
I was gonna say some Noctis thing was gonna come.
And the transition fades in to where Yozora is sitting in the back seat of a car. It is straight up the exact scene, point for point, the exact like shot that we saw years and years, like a decade ago,
2005, something like that,
of Noctis sitting in the back seat of a car, looking wistfully like out the window, and now it's happening again. So we have this character who, by all accounts, has appeared in some weird like in-game trailer for a video game called Verum Rex that shows up in the Toy Story world, that has the trailer that they made for this fake game looks like Final Fantasy Versus 13. It then, at the end of the trailer, has like a pre-order now with a box art for like a fake console, but the box art looks like the shot of like Noctis sitting on the throne, right? Like that promo art, but it's Yozora's character. And then we have him, not only does he look like Noctis, but he's also like straight up featured in a scene that is the scene. It is like the thing, one of the like only things we ever saw from Versus 13.
Kind of impressed. This would actually be super cool if I was a big Kingdom Hearts fan.
This was the thing that got me to buy that DLC.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can just like find the picture for you, since you're not like remembering it.
I'm not reminding myself.
Reminding of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I found the picture.
Yeah, this person does kind of look like Noctis. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I had the picture in there.
Yeah, I see a little bit of it. Yeah, it's almost got like kind of like pinkish, like lightning hair almost.
A little bit. So I'm linking you the picture, and you can include this in show notes if you want.
Okay.
But I'm sure people listening probably like, if they care, they probably know.
Yeah.
So this is the sequence, and granted, obviously, Yozora looks a little bit different. Hairstyles a bit different.
Yeah.
but it's basically like it fades into that, like that shot. And it even like in the trailer for Versus 13, it even like does a thing where like the camera is looking from the back of the car at like the chauffeur driving. And this secret ending even does that. Like it is like there are no mistakes here. Like this is a very deliberate homage, if not tease, of something insane. like
so is Final Fantasy Versus 13 canonical now?
So I think this is what spawned a lot of discussion, and probably some of the things like you've seen out of context, right? Where, or like maybe you've seen stuff out of context that you didn't know was referring to this, but was. It feels like it's kind of, the reaction is split. I don't know if I would say 50-50, but I've seen like a reaction that's like mine where I see this and I love it. I'm like, this is the kind of crazy I'm coming here for. Because like the implications of this are just insane. Like, what does this even mean? Like, what are you trying to tell us with this? But there are people who are like, I think when last year, when the Verum Rex thing, like when people were posting that on Twitter when they were playing review copies, I think the reception was like, oh man, Nomura's mad. He's angry. Like he wants to make this game. Like he's mad about 15, right? And it's like, sure. And there's been a similar reaction to this where it's like, man, he just wants this. Like he's just still really salty about what happened. And the more I think about it, the more I kind of like, I don't like that take, because I feel like it's not like he can just do this without anyone knowing, right? Like someone at Square Enix like has to give the okay for him to essentially remake elements of that game, like, or even just quick scenes. Like, I mean, I guess if it's just an homage, like maybe it's okay, but like if this is leading to something bigger where it's going to be taking a lot of facets from what he was planning with that game, then like someone's got to give the thumbs up to that. And I don't know that I believe that it's just like out of spite. I know that like he had an interview years ago where he said he was like, he made some comment or something about like being filled with rage or something, but this doesn't strike me as like, I don't know. I guess it's really hard to tell. I don't necessarily like believe instantly when I see this that I'm like, oh, he's spiteful about this. I think it's just like, maybe it really was something that 15 did change a lot, and there was a lot of like really cool ideals that he had for Versus 13 that he didn't get to do, and maybe like this is his chance to do them. I don't know. But I am so like, I'm so curious what this means for the future. Like, it almost feels like Yozora is being positioned as like the next main character of this franchise.
I can see that. Yeah.
And maybe he just is of a side game, and maybe Sora will continue to be the lead for the main games. I don't know, but like it really feels like that's probably the case. Like is like the next Kingdom Hearts games could straight up be you're playing Yozora, and maybe you're saving Sora, like he said he would. I don't know, like. But also like this is the world that like, generally speaking, like has a pretty realistic art style. It's a little bit different from, I think, the Kingdom Hearts worlds we're used to. And so I do wonder, like, what is the Disney role going to play in the future, especially with this character? Does this even mean that maybe, especially given like what people think this world is, like that it's the world ends with you? Is it something where like this might be a lead-in for more Final Fantasy worlds to come into this series? Like that would be cool. Like, could you imagine like a Versus 13 kind of world, right?
Yeah. That
is represented in Kingdom Hearts, like a game that does not exist necessarily, right? Like 15, for all, like, from what we know, seems to actually be quite different from what Versus 13 was. So like it's just insane to me. I love it. Like I feel like I love this. This like it has me. Like I was, like I said before, I would be excited for any future Kingdom Hearts game. I would be there day one. I feel like this has fueled a level of excitement for me that I haven't had for this franchise in a while, or since last year, since before Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, and like I'm ready for it again. Like, bring it on. It's awesome. I'm so like, it's so insane. Like, he has lost his mind. Nomura has just lost it. It's gone.
This is pretty cool. I'll admit, this is the Versus 13 stuff's pretty neat.
Yeah, I think it's super cool. I've definitely seen some people who are kind of down on it, and I guess I get why. Like, I get why they're just like, I wish he would just move on from it. But again, like, if it's the case where like, hey, I had a lot of like really cool ideas that were just like thrown into the garbage or like were not used. Like, I want to use those still. This is my chance to do it. Like, then hey, more power to you. It creates a like really weird and funny series of homages to like a game that ended up being canceled, basically. So yeah, Kingdom Hearts, as if it couldn't get any crazier.
The Hideo Kojima of our time, Tetsuya Nomura.
Truly.
I don't know. Yeah.
Man. So that's all I got. How crazy is that?
That's pretty cool. I hadn't heard anything about this. That's
yeah. I watched it, and how sometimes if you look on YouTube and you like, let's say I could get on YouTube right now and I could search Uncharted 2 Horizon 2 Unveil trailer, and I would get results, right?
Yeah.
And I would find a video called that, and it would just be scenes from Horizon and like maybe something else from a movie, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm watching the secret ending, and I see that I get to the part where it like transitions to what is essentially a redone version of a scene from Final Fantasy Versus 13. And I paused it, and I was like, wait, hold on. This isn't, and like I started like looking at the comments and like looking at like the user who uploaded it, and I'm like, this is not real. This is fake, right? Like this actually isn't real, right? And it was, and I was like, this is insane.
Huh.
It's real. Like I don't even know.
So is there more DLC planned?
No. So no, but there was an interview with Nomura. This is like this is how we closed the show, right? Like with like crazy stuff, and then it's like, oh wait, there's actually some cool news that came out. So the day this DLC released, there were some interviews with Nomura talking about the game, the DLC, and the future. And one thing he said, or like, so there was this, and then also the Kingdom Hearts UX Twitter account, which is the Kingdom Hearts mobile game, right? Like Ultimate Key or something like that. They were teasing an announcement that ended up being, they announced their next mobile project for Kingdom Hearts, which is coming out in the spring. It's just Project Xehanort. There's like a contest going on that you like, if you can guess the name of the mobile game, then you win a prize or something like that. And they like tease like the letters and number of words or something. So there's that, which is like, okay, cool. But Nomura said that they're currently, trying to remember the way he phrased it. So there's the Osaka team, which is like, they started out making Birth by Sleep, and they're now like the main Kingdom Hearts team. But he said that there are 2 other new development teams that are working on Kingdom Hearts games.
Yeah, I thought maybe I saw something about that.
And one of which he said is like, and this is the quote that people are like running with right now. One of which he said is coming out a lot sooner than people expect.
Get that Nintendo Direct coming.
Yeah, so I think that's probably the like. So I think it's one of 2 things, right? So there's been recent teases of the like Kingdom Hearts collection, the story so far or whatever, coming to Switch. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably the most likely thing he's teasing. Or just a Switch spinoff or something.
That's what I was thinking. Something that would be on like a Nintendo handheld. But
I do think, but the other thing people are theorizing is like some other spinoff game that's coming in like a year or something.
Yeah.
Either way, it's exciting. Like, it would be cool. It would definitely be like, it makes a lot of sense, and I want the Switch to get those games as well. But I would be super pumped if there was like a spinoff game announced that's like coming in a year. That'd be great.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
man,
that's about all the Kingdom Hearts talk I can do. Right
I don't know if I can do that much more Kingdom Hearts tonight. That's a lot.
That's all I got. Yeah, it's a lot. Hopefully any of that made sense to you.
It did. You said a lot of names I didn't understand.
There's a lot there. But the key thing is like just the crazy stuff in the secret ending.
Mm-hmm.
That is like, oh my god, you monster.
Well then.
Well, I think that will do it for us tonight, Collin. Thanks for joining me.
You're welcome.
There is no short podcast for us. It's always a beefy one. But that's okay. We don't get this many opportunities to do it, so we gotta make the best of it.
A few like months ago, I looked back at like some of our old like PSN stores, Collin and Curtis in the morning stuff, and like our first episode was like 25 minutes or something. It was, like that. And I'm like, how in the world?
That was back when we like put videos with it, and like actually like I would go through and edit trailers to go along with each section, and then eventually it just became was too much of a beast to control.
Yeah, yeah.
But fun nonetheless. So Collin, thanks for joining me as always.
We'll
be back whenever duty calls, whenever the signal has been made, we will return.
Yeah.
That's one last thing. And this is a great way to end. So Collin, any last words before we close?
Always believe, and that's about it.
Great. Looking forward to the Switch Direct whenever it happens, any day now, any moment. Mm-hmm. And a PS5 reveal showcase or something, that'll be cool too. Yes. So I think this is a really great way to end, considering the way what we've been talking about recently. So up until now, all of the trailers for Kingdom Hearts games, they've all ended on like a black screen and like text that comes up, and it's like reconnect Kingdom Hearts, and like that's been like their tagline for a long time. Mm-hmm. As of now, that's changed, however. So at the very end of the like secret ending of the ReMind DLC, after all the crazy stuff we just talked about, there's a black screen and there's some text that appears, and it just says, it makes an oath, actually. It says it makes an oath to return.